The Bears have kind of righted the ship, and their RPI is 56, which is not great, but it's not bad. If the Bears can somehow maybe take 2 out of 3 or even sweep this series, they have a pretty good shot to at least be in the conversation to get in the NCAA postseason.
All right, so the Bears getting ready to start this ball game. Give you their lineup. Jet Wright will be the starter on the mound. Hideki Prather will be the catcher. Over at first, Daniel Murillo. Braden Ericott, the second baseman. Over at short, Jet Kennedy. Kate Campbell at third. In left field, Carl Schmidt. Ethan Kodama is our center fielder. And out in right field is Gannon Snyder. Now for Wright, this is his, well, so far 17 innings pitched on the season. He's 2-1, 3.71 ERA, giving up 9 hits, 7 runs. They're all earned. Here's the key one, Steve, as we look at it: 17 walks and 17 strikeouts.
Yeah, there are a lot of plate appearances where the ball doesn't get put in play when Jet Wright's on the mound. Give you Stanford starting lineup. The leadoff hitter is Charlie Bates, the shortstop. Hitting second is Teddy Tokheim, the freshman designated hitter. 2 of the best freshmen in the ACC are in this game, Teddy Tokheim and the Cal shortstop Jet Kennedy. Hitting third for Stanford in center field is Court McDonald. The first baseman, Rintaro Sasaki, is the cleanup hitter. Eric Gian is the second baseman, batting fifth. His brother Kevin is on the Bears but is hurt and out for the season. In the sixth spot, J.G. Moran, the third baseman. Then it's Jimmy Nadai in left field, Luke Lavin, the catcher, and Brock Sell in right field, batting ninth.
And Wright looks in now. And here is our first pitch of the ball game. And it's a fastball down and in for ball one to Charlie Bates. Bates comes in this game with a 270 average, 50 hits, and 185 at-bats. Now Wright throws his next pitch, and that's another. Well, he hit him with the pitch. And that, Steve, unfortunately, that has been a bugaboo for Jared Wright this season. He's got all the stuff in the world, but he needs to find location.
Yeah, and Jim, you know that's easier said than done. And you don't want to give a Stanford offense, which is pretty darn good, any free first base, but Jet Wright just did it right there.
Well, I call that an unforced error, like you would get in tennis and some other sports. When you walk a batter or hit a batter, it's an unforced error, and Jet has struggled with that this year. And that will now bring up Teddy Tokheim, number 19, the DH. Right. Fastball normally around 91, has a slider around 84. We'll throw a changeup. Tall right-hander. And that's fouled off out of play. 0-2 now to Teddy Tokheim. Tokheim, so far on the season, hitting a solid 350, Steve, with 44 hits and 123 at-bats. He's got 16 home runs, so he certainly has power.
Yeah, he's too shy of the Stanford freshman record for homers.
There's a fastball busting in. Count now 1-2 to Tokheim. A lot of history between these two teams going back well over 100 years.
We covered about 75 years of those, right, Jim?
I hate to admit it, you're right. Foul back out of play. Count stays 1-2. Bates was running on the pitch, as Wright is looking for that always elusive first out of the inning. I know from experience as a starting pitcher, you just want to get that first out of the way.
And Jim, you mentioned the hit and run. Stanford and Cal are both teams that don't do a lot of stealing, so that was somewhat of a surprise.
Now Wright looking in, throws. Shot to right field, base hit. Nice piece of hitting by Tokheim. He just took that breaking ball and didn't try to do too much with it, didn't try to pull it, just poked it in the right field for a base hit. So the Cardinal with Bates out at second, Tokheim at first, and that'll bring up Court McDonald, number 22, the center fielder. .358 average on the season for the left-hander. Three home runs on the year for McDonald. And 21 RBIs. Now time is called. And apparently, Hideki Prather, the catcher, having a problem with the earpiece or something to do with his equipment. I'm guessing it's the earpiece. He's not hearing the sign. He's putting the speaker back in his right ear, but he's asking him to, hey, talk to me. Let me hear you. And it doesn't look, Steve, like he's here. Well, there he goes. He gives the thumbs up, and they're ready to go. Of course, Steve, you and I are old-timers. This is a new phase of baseball for us.
Yeah, I do remember fingers being put down every once in a while, but consider me old.
Now McDonald squares to bunt, pulls it back. The ball was in the dirt, and the count 1-0 now to Court McDonald.
Well, that McDonald squaring around, that is kind of old-school baseball, to have your number 3 hitter in the first inning squaring around to possibly sacrifice bunt.
Well, it is, but, you also, Coach, if you listen to Bill James and read his book, he says that's an absolute no-no. I don't agree with him. What you want to do is score in the first inning, and you want to move the runners along, particularly you got a left-handed hitter who can pull. So it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, a little bit maybe in today's game, but I think it's a good move.
Yeah, you do think, though, if you're in the first inning and you got your first 2 guys on, that maybe you can go for a big inning, particularly against Jet Wright, who has not started a ton of games. He's not a normal starter. Maybe you can, if you're Stanford, get out early and big. But I'll be surprised if he squares around again. But I've been wrong once or twice in my life.
Never.
Bears
in double play position as Wright checks the runner. Now comes home. Ball is slapped off to the left out of play. That evens the count now to McDonald. Of course, Wright is the son of Jamie Wright, the former major leaguer. 19 years in the big leagues with 11 different teams, Steve.
Jamie Wright is good for those of us who play Immaculate Grid.
Wright checking base. Now comes to the plate again. There's a fastball. He turned that one over. Came in at 93, but it was off the plate. 2-1 now to McDonald.
One thing that squaring around did in the first pitch of this plate appearance is it brought the corner infielders in, but now they back up a little bit. Campbell at third and Murillo at first.
Pop foul. Cade Campbell giving chase on it. The ball drifting away. Oh, and he tried to catch it over the shoulder and just wasn't able to hang on to it. He was like a wide receiver going deep, trying to catch it over his shoulder. Actually made contact with the ball, but couldn't hang on to it. So count is now 2-2 to McDonald. On deck is the Japanese sensation, Rintaro Sasaki. Power hitting left-handed hitter.
That was an excellent effort by Campbell. Would have been a heck of a play had he made it.
Right, checks the runner. Now comes to the plate, and there's a fastball up and away. Count runs full. This is a tough situation for a young pitcher because obviously he's facing a real good hitter. He doesn't want to groove one, but he can't afford to walk him. So bottom line is he has to make him swing the bat.
And interesting to see if Stanford sends the runners here on the 3-2 pitch.
Fouled off to the left again. Campbell, same play. What they said to him is, hey, you go deep.
He's getting in his sprints. Either, you do sprints before the game or after sometimes. He's getting them in the first inning.
Cade's going to have to catch his breath. So the count remains full to Court McDonald.
David Esker did not send the runners on that 3-2 pitch. Let's see if he changes his mind here.
Cal playing straight away. Kennedy shifted a little bit over towards second base in double play position. And the full count pitch on the way, and that's up high, ball 4. And this is not the way that Jet Kennedy wanted to start this game. So the bases are full now with nobody out. With Sasaki coming up, this young man has great power so far on the season. 16 home runs, 44 RBIs, hitting at a 270 clip.
And he hit a home run, dare I say, a grand slam to beat Florida State in a recent series at Sunken Diamond.
He takes a fastball at 92 off the plate. Now you notice when Wright throws the fastball, he turns it over. It's a two-seamer that breaks away from a left-handed hitter. Bears playing Sasaki straight away, double play position. They're willing to give up a run here if they can turn two. Slider down and in. So some nerves on the Cal bench. Looks like there's going to be some action down in the bullpen. Steve, this is the same thing that happened when Georgia Tech came here a few weeks ago, and it was not a good series for Cal. They got swept by the Yellow Jackets. Fastball away, where they started a young freshman. In that case, it was Espinosa, Otto Espinosa. Espinosa's had a great year, but that night he lasted a third of an inning, and before that inning was done, Yellow Jackets put 9 on the board. So Cal trying to avoid that again tonight here in the opener. And there's a fastball down away, so that's ball 4. And right now, the Bears are in big trouble, Steve.
Yeah, Stanford has 1 hit in 4 plate appearances, but all 4 batters have reached base. Still no outs, and there definitely is going to be some action in the Cal bullpen. Almost, you see somebody getting loose or getting out of the pen right now. It's hard to say 4 batters into the game you're at a critical point in the game, but right now it's a critical point in the game for the Golden Bears.
Looks like Lopez warming up for the Bears, left-hander. Jordy Lopez, so he starts to heat up, but the Bears don't want this one to get out of hand early, Steve.
Yeah, it's not looking particularly bright for California at the moment, but things can change quickly.
1 hop grounder.
Yep.
And a strike poured into Eric Gion, who's second baseman for the Cardinal. Of course, Gion's brother, a member of the Bears, who about a month and a half ago against San Diego hit 2 home runs in a game, but in the second one, unfortunately, when they celebrated with the high five, he came down and messed up his knee, and he was out for the year. There's a fastball off the plate, evens the count 1-1. Wright has not found that release point that every pitcher wants to find. They want to find it in the bullpen, and they want to fine-tune it when they get to the mound before the game starts. But Jet has not found it so far, and he's in big heap of trouble here. And the problem is, Steve, he's not even coming close. I mean, sometimes you think, hey, if you get a close pitch, you might get the call. But Jet is, quite frankly, right now all over the place, and there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, he's not getting squeezed. The balls are definitely balls.
And that's the second batter he's faced. So disaster continues so far. 5 batters, 2 hit batters, 2 walks, and a base hit. So we'll see how long Mike New and Chris Bodishbaugh are going to stay with Wright. Bodishbaugh's already made 1 trip to the mound, so they can't stall here to give Jordy Lopez a chance to warm up. If he goes out again, he's got to pull Wright. But J.J. Moran, the third baseman, steps in now for the Cardinal. And that will do it for
number 9,
Jet Wright. As Chris Bodishbaugh, Cal's pitching coach, goes to the mound. There'll be a change here, and we will let you know who that pitcher will be, and we'll tell you about him when we come back. Jordy Lopez, the new Cal hurler, the left-hander, number 9. Steve, tell us about him.
Jordy, a left-hander. He also is an outfielder, one of the rare two-way players still in college baseball. He 5'10", 175-pound sophomore from Elk Grove. Basketball fans recognize Elk Grove as the hometown of the great Bill Cartwright, USF and NBA days. This isn't the easiest spot for Jordy Lopez to find himself. Bases loaded, nobody out, 2 runs already in. If you're looking at Cal right now, you're kind of in, just damage control. If the Bears can head to the dugout, if they can head to the dugout down 4-0, that's almost a win.
It would definitely be a win. Like I said, the same thing happened against Georgia Tech about 6 weeks ago. By the time the Bears got into the dugout, it was 9-0. So Lopez's job is to make them swing the bat, because they've only been one hitter so far out of the first 5 who necessitated swinging the bat. There were 2 walks and 2 hit batters by Jet Wright. So the Bears are playing back. They'll certainly give up that run at third if they can somehow turn a double play. And J.J. Moran is the hitter for Stanford. And that ball is down low. Somewhere there's a strike in here, Steve.
Yeah, the longer it takes, it seems the strike zone gets smaller and smaller, right, Jim, when you're on the mound?
Yeah. Well, the mascot for the Oakland Ballers threw out the first pitch, and, hell, he threw a strike. What the heck?
There you go.
There's a fastball from Lopez that came in at 86, tailing away from Moran for a strike. Lopez also turns over, 2-seamer, tails away from a right-handed hitter. Nothing would be better for him right now than a ball that goes right to Ericart so they can turn 2 and at least get close to getting out of this inning. Ball in the dirt, 2-1.
Daniel Murillo at first base is well off the bag. If somehow Moran were to hit the ball down the right field line, that might be 3 runs for Stanford, as far off the bag as Murillo is.
Moran came into this game hitting .262. There's ball 3. Another fastball turned over. So somewhere, Cal pitchers need to find a strike. Now, interestingly enough, Steve, the strength for Cal this year has been their pitching. In the ACC, they are ranked 3rd in earned run average. Yep. So, unfortunately, that's not the case here tonight so far. Good fastball by Lopez, catches the outside, tailing away from Moran. Now, full count.
And again, this is only the 6th batter of the game. You hate to say this is a big pitch, but the way the situation is, this 3-2 pitch is a big pitch.
And ball 4, that'll walk in a run. So the carousel continues. And here's the problem, Steve. Cal, like I mentioned, their strength has been their pitching. They're ranked 3rd in the ACC. They are dead last in offense. So if you're going to give up, it's already 3-0, nobody out, bases loaded. You give up a few more with the offense you've shown this year, it would take an incredible comeback to get back into this ballgame.
The one flip side of that, though, Jim, is Stanford's pitching, which normally is very good, has not been good this year. Stanford is near the bottom in ERA in the ACC.
There's a strike to Jimmy Nadai, number 6, Cardinal left fielder. Nadai, 259 on the year. Now Lopez from the belt. Fastball tailing away. He was a count 1-1.
Again, as you were saying, Jim, these pitches aren't close enough for the pitcher or catcher to be upset. These balls are definitely out of the strike zone.
Nadai has power, 6 home runs, 21 RBIs on the season. And there's a pop-up, and that should be the first out of the inning, as Cade Campbell doesn't have to run 100 yards for that one as he puts it away. Finally, out number 1.
And is that a mock cheer by the fans here at Evans Diamond, Stu Gordon Stadium?
Well, I think it is a little bit. I'm sure they're frustrated. But, hey, you know what? If somehow we get out of this inning, keep it at 3, then that'll give some momentum to the Bears as Luke Lavin, the catcher, steps in. 292, 4 homers, 24 RBIs for the left-hander. Swings and misses on a breaking ball from Lopez. Again, the Bears defense in double play position here.
Mike New was already into a bullpen game. David Esper for Stanford, that's how Stanford has gone about its season for the last few weeks. Has basically bullpen games. Now, that was a pretty close pitch that did not get called a strike.
Good looking breaking ball. Of course, it begs the question, Steve. You know, your normal first game of a series starter is Oliver De La Torre, who has been just masterful. There's a shot to center, and Ethan Kodama goes back, hauls it in. Runner tags from third. He'll come in and score. So an RBI for Lavin on the fly out. The Bears, I think, would take that, Steve. I think they're not happy to give up a run. That was Sasaki who tagged up and scored. And Gian moved over to third. But now there's 2 outs. If we get out of here with 4 runs, hey, no, you're not happy about that. But it keeps you in the ballgame.
Well, Jim, I said just a couple minutes ago, if the Bears can get to the dugout down 4-0, that's you're not going to say that's a win, but it's a sigh of relief.
Brock Sell steps in. He pops that one up. And that's probably what will happen here as Jet Kennedy puts it away. But for the Cardinal, 4 runs, Steve, on 1 hit.
That's some production if you're looking from the Stanford perspective.
Absolutely. So we've gone 1/2 inning. Bears coming up, trailing by 4. Bears down 4 here at the bottom of the first. Hideki Prather, Jet Kennedy, and Daniel Murillo scheduled to hit. They'll be going up against senior Torin O'Haron. O'Haron comes in with a 4.28 ERA, 2-1 record on the year, 33 2/3 innings pitched, giving up 33 hits, 24 runs, 16 are earned, and 19 bases on balls. And like you said, Steve, Stanford is a basically bullpen by committee pitching staff.
Yeah, talking with David Esker, he was saying going into the season, or at the end of last season anyway, he could project 6 starters, and between transfers and injuries, of those 6, he has only 1 left. So he said that they've kind of had to just kind of find this formula, and it's worked fairly well for Stanford in the last couple of weeks. Stanford's won 4 of its last 5 and 2 of its last 3 ACC series.
So Hideki Prather, Golden Bear catcher, will step in. Prather, of course, the transfer from Clemson and via Campolindo High School.
Who went to Campolindo High School, by
Oh,
the way?
I think one of us talking here tonight might have gone to Campolindo. Anyway,
There you go.
Prather steps in, having a monster year, 332 average, and leads the Bears with 12 home runs, and then fouls that one back to the screen. He's behind 0-1. You had a stat for me earlier that just shocked me. You said the Stanford starting pitchers going into tonight's game only have 1 win.
1 win. They're 1-10. And now, because they're not using the starters that long, a lot of them aren't. They're not getting a lot of decisions.
Because they don't get into the 5th inning.
Right.
Right.
But it's still hard to believe that we're in the middle of May, the last regular season series, and a Stanford pitching staff has only 1 win from its starter.
And a base hit for Prather that bounced off the glove of Bates, who dove for it. It bounced off the end of his glove into left field for a base hit. So we'll see if the Bears can pick up some momentum here and eat into that Cardinal lead.
Jim, a quick thing about Campolindo High School, as I know you find close, near and dear to your heart, our photographer, Dave Pullman, who's absolutely a great videographer, was inducted into the Campolindo Athletic Hall of Fame recently for all the video work he's done for Campolindo football.
Jet Kennedy steps in, the freshman. It's going to be a tough play. Throw to first, and they just get him. That was a one-hopper that O'Haron had to come over and get rid of quickly, and he made a good throw to Sasaki. But now some people might say that's a wasted at-bat. It's not a wasted at-bat at all, because it now puts Prather in the scoring position. And the Bears, Steve, let's face it, they need to peck away. They need to get 1 run right here and then get another run next to him. I mean, it's not like they need to pick up all 4 right now.
Right, and look, that was a heck of a play by O'Haron. That very easily could have been an infield single for Kennedy, but you advanced the runner. It did accomplish something.
So Daniel Murillo steps in, number 21, first baseman. A great pickup for the Bears this year, coming over from San Francisco State. He followed his former teammate there, Jacob French, who we will talk about here in just a second. But Murillo has been a solid contributor to the Bears this year. Coming into this game, he is hitting .313. Second on the team in home runs behind Prather, but he's number 1 with 44 RBIs. So he's been a key contributor to the Bears here in 2026. Now he takes a slider that missed somewhere. Our umpires, Jeff Francis behind the dish, Dylan Bradley at first, Jose Esteras over at second, and Frank Flugrant is the third base arbiter. Fastball just next to the uniform. And that's another hit by pitch. That was a fastball that ran up and in and just nicked Murillo. Actually, you know what? Interesting enough, now he's going to take his base, and of course the Bears will take that. It was a good pitch. I mean, that's one that if he doesn't nick his uniform, that Murillo will remember. He'll come up and in on it.
Yeah. You're saying that might have been a little bit of a message?
Not a message so much, but, early in the game, you want to establish both sides of the play.
True.
You want the eyesight for that hitter to know it's got to go out, it's got to go in, up, down. I actually thought that was, it obviously got him, and O'Haron won't like it, but I thought it was a pretty darn good pitch. So that one is swung and missed by Cade Campbell, Golden Bear third baseman, number 2, also having a solid season for the Bears. 270 average. That one is down low. Evens the count 1-1 to Cade. So runners that's Prather out at second. Murillo at first. Cardinal in a huge shift for Campbell. Big hole on the right side if he can just hit a ground ball to where second base normally would be. Instead, he hits it right to third base, over to second for 1, to first. And the ball gets by Sasaki. And the run will come in to score, and that's exactly, you hate to say it, but that's exactly what the Bears needed.
Talking with David Esker yesterday as well, he said the pitching has not been up to Stanford's standard for most of his tenure and the tenure of the late, great Mark Marquis. He also said that Stanford's defense has not been up to the standard, and that's a perfect example right there. That was a pretty much tailor-made double play ball. You're going to get out of the inning with no runs and a 4-run lead. Now it's 4-1.
And the Bears, like I said, chipping away here. French comes up. French, 9 home runs on the year, Steve, but only 14 RBIs.
Talk about hard-to-believe stats. That's a hard-to-believe stat.
And that's one of the reasons why right there. You saw him swing through that. His left shoulder. Carl's got great power. Like I said, 9 home runs. But he swings and misses a lot, too. Now O'Haron checks, throws. And, like I said, French, undisciplined at the plate, swings at a ball in the dirt, which Carl tends to do more often than I'm sure he would like. But the Bears do pick up a run. We've played 1 full here at the Stew. Stanford leading Cal 4-1. Top of the second, Cardinal coming up leading 4-1. And Steve, there was a pretty poignant moment here before this game. Moment of silence for 2 bulwarks of Bay Area baseball.
Yeah, moment of silence for longtime Cal head coach Bob Milano, whom he lost in September, and longtime Stanford head coach Mark Marquis, whom we lost, I believe, in late January. As I've long said, those of us who are old enough to remember the Giants in the 1960s had the M&M combo of Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. The Yankees had Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. Well, college baseball fans in the Bay Area were so fortunate to have the M&M duo of Bob Milano and Mark Marquis at the respective schools, elevating the programs, working their programs the right way, getting tons of major leaguers from each school, but getting a lot of just really good young men who became really good older men.
Well, and very successful programs. Of course, Cal went to the College World Series 3 times under Milano, almost won it in 1980. Marquis seemed like he was there every year, and they won it 2 times when he was the head coach. So
87 and 88.
Yeah, great moment of silence for 2 wonderful men. Okay, Charlie Bates steps in now. He was the leadoff hitter. He got hit by a pitch, leading off the game against Jet Wright. He takes that one for a ball down low. Stanford in the first inning, 2 hit batters, 3 bases on balls, and a base hit. Played at 4 runs. Ground ball over the Cal dugout. Evens the count 1-1 now to Charlie Bates.
Yeah, again, though, Jim, the way that top of the first inning was looking for that to be into the second inning down 4-1 is almost,
A gift.
again, a sigh of relief for the Bears.
Fastball from Lopez at 88, taken for a strike. You know, we were talking about Milano and Marquis.
Yeah.
Marquis was the Olympic coach in 1988, and on his coaching staff, who do you think he picked?
I think it was Robert Milano.
Bob Milano. And check, nice job of keeping alive by Bates. That was a sharp breaking ball from Lopez.
And the other thing about both of those gentlemen is they were great players in their own right. Bob Milano led the Bears in hitting. I believe it was a 357 average in 1960. Mark Marquis led Stanford in hitting 404 in 1967 when his team on which he played got to the College World Series. So not only were they great coaches, they were really good players in their own right.
Well, Mark was an All-American in baseball. Popped up. Left side. Carl Schmidt comes in, puts it away for out number 1. Interesting about Marquis, he's from Stockton. He was a three-sport star at Stag High. And, he was awesome, and he played football at Stanford. He was a quarterback, running back, defensive back, obviously All-American baseball. But all the guys I knew who knew him from Stag High said his best sport was basketball.
Wow. Yeah, I knew of the football and the baseball. I did not know of the basketball.
Tokheim now steps in. He's the one who slapped the single to right field. He's got the Cardinal-only hit of the inning. My former roommate, Eric Long, here at Cal back in the early 70s, was on the Cal basketball team. In fact, he, for years, held the single-season assist record for Cal.
Okay.
Well, he followed Marquis to Stag High. And when Mark passed away, I called Eric, hey, I heard bad news, he was going to pass on. And he was dumbfounded hearing about Mark passing. But he went into this dialogue to me about what an incredible basketball player Mark Marquis was.
Well, I'll admit the time.
There's a shot into left field for the base hit. They had the shift on for Tokheim, but he hit it hard enough to go through the hole. That's his second hit of the evening and the Cardinals' second hit.
Well, you can see why Teddy Tokheim is considered one of the best freshmen in the country. He gets a line drive to right field in the first inning, comes back and pulls a shot in the left center right now in the second inning. He's a pretty good hitter.
Well, he's an excellent hitter, but I'll tell you one thing. Look, I know you don't want to give up hits, but the fact that Lopez is making them swing the bat, hey, they are good hitters. They are going to get hits, but sometimes they're going to hit a ball hard to somebody too.
Correct.
But if you walk them or hit them by a pitch, unforced error, there's absolutely no way you can get them out.
It's the old line, there's no defense for a walk.
Nope.
If one of those are over, I think it'd be
Another fastball at the knees for a strike. One down here in the top of the second. If you're just joining us, the Cardinal put 4 spots on in the first. Bears came back and got 1. Tokheim, the runner over at first. There's a bunt, and it's fouled off to the side. That was a bunt for a base hit by Court McDonald. McDonald was one of the recipients of a bases on balls back in the first.
We talked about him squaring around with runners at first and second in the first. He also could have been, it could have been it's a sacrifice at worst. Maybe I get on with a bunt base hit.
Well, Kate Campbell, third baseman, is back on the infield dirt, so if he can lay one down there, most likely he would get a hit out of that. Now there's a shot to left. That's going to drop for a base hit. Not hit. Oh, they might have a force, and they do. That is not good base running by Tokheim. It was a base hit that you could see was going to drop in front of French, but Tokheim just didn't get a read on it. Didn't get that secondary lead, and French is able to get him out at second. So score that 7-4 on your scorecard, and that's out number 2.
As you were talking about when guys hit the ball hard, you still might get an out. There's a perfect example of it. And it's hard to say why Tokheim didn't get a better read on that. There is a little glare still left in left field. Maybe that's the reason, but that was not a very good base running move by Tokheim, and the Bears benefit from it.
And if you're McDonald, you're a little bit irked because that takes away a base hit.
Indeed.
It's not very often you put on your scorecard 7-4 for an out.
Yep.
Good breaking by Lopez. Sasaki fooled by it. It caught the outside corner. So, well, I thought he called it a strike. Scoreboard is showing 1-0.
I thought it was a strike as well.
We'll have to check to see what that call was. Swing and miss.
That's a strike.
That one is definitely a strike. I swear, I thought I saw Jeff Francis raise his arm up.
He just raised his hand.
Oh, there we go. It was a strike. So we weren't wrong about that.
For the first time.
Yeah. Good spot on that 0-2 pitch.
Jim, now as a pitcher, I will say that Cal has the complete shift on Sasaki. Are you a little bit surprised that he's trying to pitch to the outside? Because Sasaki theoretically could just poke a ball to left field and get a base hit.
Well, except he's the power hitter.
Yep.
You don't want him pulling it. And I think that's a foul ball off the inside part of the bat. It was tailing up and in. Lopez's fastball will tail into a left-hander, and that one came up and into Sasaki and went off the handle of his bat.
I'm guessing Sasaki is not majoring in drama at Stanford because there are some hitters when that happened, they're falling over, they're shaking their hands. Sasaki just didn't make much of a move at all.
You brought up an interesting point. We're going to get back to that in a second about pitch location into the shift. And there is strike 3 to Sasaki, a breaking ball that tied him up. The big left-handed hitter from Japan takes called strike 3. That'll do it for the Cardinal here in the second. Bears coming up, still trailing 4-1. Olmstead, Ericart, and Kodama, the scheduled hitters for the Bears as we head into the bottom of the second inning. Cardinal up 4-1. Torin O'Haron out for his second inning of work. Olmstead, the freshman, had so far a solid season, 228 average. Six home runs and 18 RBIs for the young man, the freshman catcher, who's DHing for the Bears. He has had a quad problem now for a couple of weeks. Hasn't seen any time on defense, but potent with the bat as he steps in here now behind the count 0-1. Stanford infield shifted over a bit to the left as he swings through that slider away. And the count 0-2 to Olmstead. Bates shifted over into the hole in left. Moran covering the line. So that ball down low, 1-2 now to Olmstead. Interesting, they put a shift on to the left, but the center fielder, McDonald, is playing over towards right center. Big gap in left center field.
Absolutely. I guess they're thinking if he hits the ball on the ground, it's to the left side. If he hits the ball in the air, maybe it's to the right.
Fastball up, evens the count 2-2. O'Haron kicks and throws the 2-2 and swung and missed. Fastball that tied up Olmstead for out number 1 here in the bottom of the second inning, and that'll bring up Brady Ericart. Number 1, the Golden Bear second baseman. Ericart didn't have much playing time until a couple of weeks ago when Jacob French went out with a bad back. French, unfortunately, it will be out from what we hear this entire weekend. Don't know if he'll be available for the Pac-12 tournament, but Ericart stepped in and has done a real good job, Steve.
Yeah, no kidding. And if you happen to see the Bears game at Virginia on Sunday when the Bears made a great comeback to win, I believe that was 8-7. He made a great diving stop when Virginia had the bases loaded to save what would have been 2 runs and kept the Bears in the game. And as we were talking about Stanford's defense, There it is again.
Yeah, J.J. Moran, a simple play, a two-hopper, throws to first. Now, the error is going to be charged to Moran. It was a low throw, but to be honest with you, Sasaki's got to come up with that ball. That was not a real tough short hop. I mean, it was one right in front of his mid, and that's the second one he's missed so far in this game. So the Bears will take it. That's being E5. And Ethan Kodama, number 6, Bears center fielder, steps in. Kodama, 220, check that, 228 on the season. He has stepped in and replaced Joshua Hansen, who also is out for the year. Hansen injured his toe, making the final out in the Bears' win at Miami about 3 weeks ago, and had to undergo surgery, so out for the year. So the Bears have been hit pretty hard, Steve, by the injury bug.
Hansen, Gian, and Jacob French. You're talking about 3 key players no longer available. Hopefully, perhaps, French might be able to be ready for the ACC tournament next week.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Anyway, that was a ground ball that Sasaki knocked down, and they underhanded to O'Haron to get Kodama. Gannon Snyder steps in. Snyder last week hit a big home run for the Bears of Virginia, his first of the year, the transfer from Wichita State. But that ground ball did put Eric Hart in scoring position, so a base hit, the Bears could cut the lead in half.
Again, put the ball in play and something good might happen.
And Sasaki made a great effort for that and slid, tried to make the catch, went into the wall, wasn't able to come up with it, but a great effort by the big first baseman.
And thankfully the wall is padded.
So 0-1 here to Snyder.
And Jim, we were talking earlier that Cal kind of still has an outside shot if things go really well. And one of the big reasons is because the Bears' RPI is 56. And it's a little odd. Cal and Stanford have basically the same record. Stanford is 26 and 23. Cal's 27 and 24. Stanford is 2 games ahead of Cal in the ACC. But Cal's RPI is 56, and Stanford's, I believe, is 102.
Yeah, it's Stanford's. Well, now the count 1-1 to Snyder. That ball was up and in. I don't understand totally how the RPI works. That's what for those of you who don't understand it, the NCAA selection committee, first of all, you win your league, you're an automatic bid. You know, you get into the playoffs. Then they have to pick, I believe it is 33 teams Snyder for a strike, 2 strikes now to Snyder. They have to pick 34 teams. And the way they base it is on your index, basically who you beat, when you beat them, was it on the road, stuff like that. And like you said, Cal and Stanford's records are fairly similar. Fastball, O'Haron tried to overthrow that one.
I think one of the things that has helped the Bears is a lot of their good wins have come on the road. Sweeping Pitt, which is a good team, taking 2 out of 3 at Virginia, even getting 1 win at Wake Forest and Miami. Those are wins that really boost your RPI.
And a fastball. Down goes Snyder. That ball came in at 92. So O'Haron gets Snyder to strike out. That ends the second. We go to the third. Bears still trailing 4-1. Top of the third. Cardinal coming up. Leading 4-1 will be John Moran and Nadai scheduled to hit for the Cardinal. And Steve, there's one thing I want to mention, kind of a funny story. We were talking about Marquis earlier. He went to Stanford to play football and baseball. His freshman year, he had to play freshman ball, of course. Sophomore year was a starting quarterback, believe it or not. And his junior year, they moved him to running back. And people said they wonder why. Well, because Stanford brought this guy in named Plunkett.
He was pretty good.
And that was the end of Mark's career as a quarterback.
Well, if you're going to get ousted by somebody, if you're going to get Wally pipped.
And Wally Pipp. We'll talk about that one, too.
Yeah. Jim Plunkett, that's a pretty good calling card.
So Jones comes in. He also was hit by a pitch back in the first. And he takes a backdoor breaking ball strike from Jordy Lopez. Lopez trying to keep the Bears in this ball game. They trail by 3.
Hey, look, Jordy Lopez came in with the bases loaded, nobody out, 2 runs in, And Jordy Lopez right now has kept the Bears in the ball game.
Yes, he has, as he threw a fastball on the outside for called strike 2 to Gion. Cardinals second baseman steps back in. Of course, we mentioned earlier his brother is on the Cal squad, who unfortunately was injured earlier in the year. And there's a shot to right center. That's going to drop. That might get through, and he makes the turn second, and he'll hold up there. So he hit that just where the players weren't.
But a heck of a play by Ethan Kodama in center field. That ball easily could have been a double, and if it gets by him, it could have been a triple.
Kodama has been a good pickup for the Bears in the outfield. He made some plays when Hansen was in center and Kodama was the right fielder, but he made some throws from right fielder, Steve, that you weren't at those games where he nailed runners trying to stretch and saved some big runs for the Bears.
You know, thinking about the Gion brothers, one at Cal and one at Stanford, and thinking of other brothers who split the allegiances, thinking of my buddy Dave Butler, basketball player. His brother Greg played at Stanford. The Hutchinson brothers, Trevor and Chad. The Aldrettis, Mike and Rich.
Yep.
It's a good way to get brotherly competition.
J.J. Moran, who walked back in the first inning, Cardinal third baseman, number 1. Swung and missed on that last offering from Lopez. Now Jordy delivers. Fastball just off the plate. Good location pitch, just missed. Yeah, that's quite a few if you think about it. What's interesting, too, you know, talking about this rivalry. Back in the war years, after the war, there were many football players who played at one or the other schools prior to the war. Swung and missed, that's strike 2. And when the war ended, they went back to college on the GI Bill, and many of them switched schools and then played for Cal or Stanford. It was an interesting time.
So you're saying the 1940s were the preview of the transfer portal?
That pretty much was. Of course, a lot of guys transferred into the Army or Navy or Marines for a while.
Yeah.
Fastball away, 2-2 now to Moran. Lopez looking for his first out here in the third. Cade Campbell, third baseman, back behind the bag over towards the line. Of course, Murillo holding Gion over at first. Cardinals are not a running team. Popped up. Running over is Murillo, and he will run out of real estate as the ball goes into the stands. So the count will remain 2-2 to J.J. Moran.
The last shreds of sunlight in the left field corner are no longer there, so shouldn't be any issues seeing the ball. Although I say that easier for me to say. It at this time of night, it can be pretty difficult for an outfielder, particularly on a pop fly or even a line drive that's maybe at eye level. It can be a difficult thing to try to spot that ball. Stanford made it to the College World Series a couple of years ago on a ball that got lost in the dusk at Sunken Diamond.
Swung and foul tip at the plate by Moran. It's a good breaking ball from Lopez. Well, the sun right now is shining on all of those great stars who played at Cal, then went on to have super major league careers. Jeff Kent's out there, Bob Melvin, Darren Lewis, Xavier Nady, Marcus Simeon, Andrew Vaughn, the Golden Spikes winner. So a plethora. Runner goes, and that's fouled off to the right out of play. Like you mentioned, it's interesting. Stanford is the only team in the ACC who has less stolen bases than Cal, and yet here they've been running pretty liberally here in the first 3 innings.
Yeah. You can count me surprised.
So Lopez looking into Prather for the sign as Moran steps back in. Left-hander from the belt. Here's the 2-2. Check swing. Did he go? No. On the appeal down to Dylan Bradley. So, you know, we talk about big pitches. And with nobody out and the bases and a 3-2 count, runner at first, I would say this is one of those big pitches so far early here in the game.
Yeah, no question, Jim. And if you ran earlier in the count, I think you'd be running here on 3-2.
The only thing that would, well, that ball bounced away from Murillo, but he's able to track it down. A lot of balls getting by the first baseman tonight, Steve.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would think would keep them from possibly running here is that Jordy's a left-hander. Right. But we will see. Of course, when he can go 2 pitches ago, too.
He hasn't gone ambidextrous yet.
Big hold to the right as the shift is on. Now, this is always an interesting thing for me, too, when they have the shift on. You know, the traditional double play is not as you and I growing up saw it. It's a much tougher play to make.
Right, and sometimes you'll even see a third baseman throw into the shortstop at second base to try to turn a double play.
So they've got the shift on with Ericard right behind second base. He hit the outfield straight away. Campbell way back now behind the bag at third. And close to the line, maybe 8 feet off the line. 3-2 pitch on the way, and now that's an interesting. You can see Lopez turn his back to home plate umpire Jeff Francis. That's one where it's such a key pitch because if you get a strikeout, now you got 1 out, man on first. Now you got nobody out, first and second.
Yeah, and Jet Wright was not getting squeezed. And that was a borderline pitch, but it's certainly one Jordy Lopez would expect a hitter to swing. It's tough to take that pitch on 3-2.
Well, absolutely. Showing bunt, and again, a ball called. This is Nadai, who made the first out in the first inning when he popped up to Campbell over at third. So Lopez in a bit of a jam here now. Showing bunt, Campbell up at the grass, and he pitches, and the ball is popped up and is caught by Lopez. No chance for a double play. Both runners saw that it was popped up immediately, so Bears get a break there on the popped-up bunt. Score that pop-up 1, and Luke Lavin will now step in, the Cardinal catcher.
Jim, let me play devil's advocate there for a second. If Lopez does let that drop, and you throw to third and second, you might get a double play.
Yeah, you might, but there's always the chance. You want to get that out.
Yeah.
But you're right, Steve. I mean, there's a potential for that because it wasn't high enough to be called an infield fly.
Correct.
Fastball poured in at the knees for a strike. To Lavin. He popped up back in the first inning. Swung and missed. So Lavin quickly behind 0-2 to Lopez. Bears playing in double play position. That's Ericard at second. Kennedy is short. Bears would love to see a one hopper to either one of them. Check swing. Did he go? No. Again, Jeff Francis checked down with Frank Flugrant. Try to say that fast a few times.
Not on the air anyway.
Yeah, but no positive call for the Bears. Count now 1-2 to Lavin. Lopez checks the runner, throws to the plate, and down low with a fastball tailing into Lavin. Count now 2-2. So Lopez doesn't want to go full here. Now, the thing about a situation like that, Steve, is Lavin knows he doesn't want to go full. So yes, if you're a hitter, this is a great, pitch to go after.
You think you're getting a fastball, right?
You think you're getting a fastball. Popped up down the third base side. French running over. Will he have room? And no, he doesn't get there. Ball tailed away from him. So that's a long foul ball by Lavin. You know, I've been watching the Stanford batters when there's a play like that where there's a long foul ball. They sure take their time coming back to the plate. They just kind of saunter slowly back, and I wonder if there's a strategy to that.
I think I heard they said they wanted to hear us talking a little more.
Yeah, yeah. But that's not true.
No, that's definitely not true.
This one is popped up again. Cade Campbell going back. This time I think he'll have a beat on it, and he puts it away for out number 2. So Cade didn't have to do the full 60-yard dash on that one. He was able to slow it down and haul it in.
Good hustle by Jordy Lopez. The pitcher was covering third base just in case.
Well, that's Steve. That's a good point for you youngsters listening to us. You never stand and watch a play. You have to say, "I've got to be somewhere. I've got to cover for somebody," and that's a good point. Watching what Lopez did there. As Sell now steps in, Brock Sell, he popped up back to end the first inning. And Lopez's first pitch to him is grounder to second. Ericart's got it. He over to first. Nice job by Jordy Lopez. Cardinals go down, not scoring here in the top of the third. Bears coming up, down 4-1. Torrin O'Haron out for his third inning of work. The senior right-hander so far has thrown 28 pitches, and he'll be facing Prather, Kennedy, and Murillo here in the top of the third. Cardinal leading 4-1. 4 runs on 3 hits, 2 errors. For the Bears, 1 run, 1 hit, no errors, as Hideki Prather steps in. Prather came here after last year was his redshirt freshman year at Clemson. He hit .750. I mean, you think, wow, it was 3 for 4.
Well, he was on a good pace.
Well, you know what? He showed he could hit ACC pitching. And he certainly has showed it this year at his first year as a Golden Bear.
Yes, absolutely.
That ball was up as Luke Lavin tried to sell it to plate umpire Jeff Francis that it was a fair ball, but to no avail.
Jim, this isn't the only in-state rivalry in the ACC this weekend. Wake Forest playing at Duke. Wake Forest won tonight 7-2. North Carolina at North Carolina State. North Carolina, one of the best teams in the country. It beat NC State 9-4. And Miami at Florida State. Florida State, one of the best teams in the country. The Seminoles beat the Hurricanes 7-6 in 11 innings.
Ooh, that's a rivalry right there.
Yeah.
92-mile-an-hour fastball goes by Prather. He's behind in the count 0-2. O'Haron looking into Lavin. Now Lavin on the outside corner. And a nice job of staying alive by Prather. That was a good pitch by O'Haron. It was right at the target that he was given by Lavin.
I think Mike Krukow might have called that an emergency swing.
As long as he doesn't say take some pine meat, we're okay.
Okay.
The 0-2 to Prather. Swung and missed. Ball in the dirt. He hustles down to first. No avail. Lavin gets it over to Sasaki, and that's out number 1. And that'll bring up Jet Kennedy. Kennedy this year has been such a stalwart for the Bears, Steve. I mean, he took over for P.J. Mutsaritas, who for 2 years was absolutely outstanding. Mutsaritas, of course, entered the portal, went to Arizona State. And Jet Kennedy stepped right in and, quite frankly, made people forget about P.J. Mutsaritas.
Well, I talked with Mike New a couple days ago.
Foul out of play.
I asked him about Jet Kennedy. I said, Mike, you've been here. You've had some pretty darn good freshmen. Dylan Beavers. You think of Caleb Lomavita, P.J. Mutsaritas, Rodney Green Jr., Jared Avicula. I said, where does Jet Kennedy rank? He said, you know what? He's with them and maybe at the top of them, and that's saying a lot.
Popped up, and it will go out of play. So 0-2 now to Kennedy. Yeah, some great players, that came in and as freshmen stepped right in. You mentioned Green, Lomavita. I mean, some real solid ball players.
I don't know if you saw, it was last night or the night before, Rodney Green.
Swung and missed by Kennedy, so 2 quick strikeouts to start the third inning for O'Haron.
Rodney Green had a home run, I believe, for the Lansing Lugnuts, who I believe are the Double-A team with the A's, and I think the ball might have just landed.
Well, I saw him. I announced the games as Murillo steps in now with 2 down. I announced games that Rodney Green Jr. played here, and I'm telling you, he has some balls over that track stadium wall that, like you said, Artemis went up a few weeks ago. That's nothing compared to what that guy was hitting.
There you go. The announcers in the Lugnut telecast were saying that they don't know if they'd ever seen a ball hit that far with right center field. It was just mashed.
Swung and missed by Murillo, 0-2. So O'Haron, 1 strike away from striking out the side here in the third. Grounded in the hole on the right side, and that will go through for a base hit by Daniel Murillo. Now, Steve, what impressed me so much about that, he had 2 strikes. He had a plan at the plate with 2 strikes. I'm going to shorten up and try to punch the ball the opposite way, and that's exactly what he did there.
Yeah, when the old thing about having a 2-strike approach, there are a lot of guys these days who don't have a 2-strike approach, but that was a really good 2-strike approach by Daniel Murillo.
Well, it's a different world today, Steve. Kids today don't play, Babe Ruth or American Legion team baseball like, say, you and I might have a long time ago. They now play on these travel teams. And, of course, that brings up Campbell, who swings to the first pitch for strike 1. But they play on travel teams or showcases where they're trying to show what they can do to the people, the scouts, the college coaches, and a soft ground ball that gets through for a base hit, well, they think that's not showing anything. They think what's showing something is if they launch one. And unfortunately, kids today, their attitude about striking out isn't what it was when we were. If you struck out when we were younger, it was like a disgrace.
Yeah, there's no shame in baseball anymore.
Not in that regard,
Nope.
That's for sure. Check swing.
No.
Did he go? No. Again, appeal down to Dylan Bradley. He says nope.
And Jim, I think part of that too, as you mentioned, the Bill James. There's the thought of you want to get an extra base hit or a walk.
Check swing, runner going, and they got him. So Murillo gunned down. Good throw by Lavin to nail Daniel. That's the 3rd out of the inning. We have gone 3 full. Cardinals still leading 4-1. Well, we went off the air there for a moment for the inning-ending throw out at second on Murillo, but apparently the Bears want to challenge that. Now, so we're back on while they do check the challenge. Steve, to be honest with you, now we're a long way. The press box is behind home plate, so I would guess we're about, 200 feet, maybe more? 300, almost 300 feet. But it looked to me, he got it.
The ball definitely beat him there. Now perhaps he got around the tag.
And here is the call, and the runner is out. So that does end the inning as the Cardinal run off the field. Bears will head out to defense. We finished 3 full, Cardinal leading 4-1. Bates, Tokheim, and McDonald scheduled now for the Cardinal here in the top of the 4th. And Steve, you pointed out an interesting stat to me regarding Jordy Lopez.
Yeah, Jordy Lopez can get an out here. If I turn on my mic, if Jordy Lopez can get an out here in the 4th inning, he will have a career-long outing. His career-long right now is 3 innings.
Well, Jordy has been pretty much a specialist, left-handed specialist, so you wouldn't have expected him to go too many innings, but he has certainly pitched well tonight for the Bears. He's kept the Bears in the ballgame that was very close to being put out of range in the 1st inning. Ground ball into the hole, base hit for Charlie Bates, leading off the 4th. And Teddy Tokheim will now step in. Tokheim 2 for 2 today, Steve.
Yeah, Tokheim, 16 homers as a freshman. Again, talking with David Esker about some of the freshmen he's had over the past decade. You remember he had Andrew Vaughn as a freshman here at Cal. He had Braden Montgomery and Malcolm Moore, a catcher. I asked him where Teddy Tokheim ranked, and he said Teddy Tokheim is as good a freshman as any of those guys were. And you mentioned Andrew Vaughn, Braden Montgomery, and Malcolm Moore. If you're in the same breath with those guys, you're in some pretty good company.
Absolutely. Interesting stat on Vaughn as Tokheim steps in behind 0-1 here to Lopez. Now throw to first, and back to first is Bates. And you know who the closer, when Andrew Vaughn was a freshman here, you know who the closer was for the Bears?
Andrew Vaughn.
Andrew Vaughn. He had 9 saves as a freshman, and that's the last time he pitched. Popped up, right field. Making a long chase is Gannon Snyder. In the corner, he puts it away right in front of the 320 sign. So we were talking earlier about, I was talking to David Esker before the game, and we were talking about this ballpark. And certainly since we have lights put in here in 2015, thank you to Stu Gordon.
There you go.
But how much further the ball carries here at night than it does during the day. And there was a classic example. I didn't think Tokheim hit that very well, and yet that went all the way to the corner.
Yeah. Wasn't a bad play by Snyder. He had to go a bit of a ways to get there.
McDonald, now the hitter for the Cardinal, walked, and he was the one who got what was going to be a base hit to left, but Tokheim didn't get a good jump on it and got forced at second to take the hit away from McDonald. Here's a ball right back at us for an out. I've done some games this year with Roxy Bernstein where, you know, a player hit a ball to right field, and we were both going to mark in our scorecard, you know, fly ball 9. And then all of a sudden we hear everybody cheering and go, what happened? Well, the ball carried into the track stadium.
Yeah.
So you never know here at the Stew. There's a ball down low. 1-1 to McDonald.
Yeah, Jim, we've definitely seen some late afternoon wind coming from the Bay where guys hit the ball, crush the ball to right field, and it does not even get to the warning track.
Do you know, the only time I ever saw it, when I played here a couple of years and I coached here for 2 years when Jackie Jensen was Bob Milano, the main assistant. I saw one ball in 4 years go over the right field fence. And after this pitch, I'll tell you who it was because it was pretty extraordinary.
Okay.
So Lopez with 2 strikes on McDonald, checks the runner, now comes home. There's a base hit. That was a hanging curveball. Runner around second. He's going to go to third. That's a defensive mistake by the Bears, by Kodama, because it allowed McDonald, who got the base hit, to streak into second base to put himself in scoring position. So a mental error there by Kodama. He should have hit the cutoff man. That would have kept McDonald at first base as Sasaki steps in now with runners at second and third and only 1 out. Bears playing back. They're willing to give up the 1 run here with Sasaki coming up.
And McDonald did a nice job waiting on the curveball, and then he was alert to take second when Kodama made a mistake. He should have thrown the ball to the cutoff man.
Ground ball to Murillo. He's got it. He'll take it himself. He gets Sasaki, but that drives in the run. It's an RBI for Sasaki as Tokheim, check that, Bates comes in to score. Score that 3 unassisted, but the Cardinals pick up a run. They now lead 5-1. Well, I was talking about that home run that I saw here.
Yeah.
We played the A's in 1976 in an exhibition game. And this is in the days when the stands went all the way down to the end. Anyway, Bob Silverman came up, and he was facing Mike Norris.
He was pretty good.
A future Cy Young winner. Gian the batter, and he takes a ball down low, 1-0. Gian hit by a pitch and singled. That's McDonald, the runner over at third here with 2 down. Anyway, Silverman. Change up, missed somewhere. Good pitch on the outside. Anyway, Silverman came up and he said, Norris was from San Francisco, so was Silverman. He says, I'm going to take him deep, and we all laughed. He hit it right-handed over the track stadium wall. And none of us had ever seen that done. And I remember looking at it, Mike Norris. Of course, he was an A's starting pitcher. And you can almost see the smirk on his face. Like, who is this punk kid?
That's almost like hitting a right-handed hitter hitting one into the Bay, which has been done only once at Oracle Park.
Yeah. 3-0. Fastball. Well, I don't know where those are missing, but they're close pitches. But you know what? And I say this all the time when I say I don't know where they're missing. That umpire, and that's Jeff Francis, is a heck of a lot closer to the plate than I am. So he's going to get the benefit of the doubt one way or the other. But that puts Gion over at first. Runners at the corners now, 2 down. And J.J. Moran steps up. He has walked twice. Bears trying to get out of the inning without any further damage. They trail by 4 here in the top of the 4th inning.
And now that Jordy Lopez has reached a career high in innings, there is some activity in the Cal bullpen. I imagine this might be Jordy Lopez's last batter of the game, no matter what happens.
Most likely, because the next batter is Nadai, and he is a right-handed hitter. So I think you're probably right. Lopez. Well, it says 65 pitches. I presume that's just him. I'm sure that could be a career high for him, I would think.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's getting a little tired. You can see how he's throwing open his right shoulder there. That ball tailed up and away. When I was a pitching coach, that was the first thing I looked. First, I talked to the catcher. Is he losing it?
Yeah.
But then I watched where his location of his arm angle was. And now you can see he was way up and away. That's a sign of fatigue. Same pitch. Now, again, the Bears are in a situation where they don't want to let this thing get away from them. We keep saying this is an important pitch. Well, I think it's just that. Fastball for a strike. Good pitch by Lopez. He tied up Moran on that one. He was looking away, and that one came right in on his hands.
And again, you talk about the 2-2 pitch being the pitch. As a pitcher, you want to get the guy out. And as a hitter, you're expecting a good pitch. Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to go 3-2 in this situation. So,
swung and missed by Moran. Nice job by Lopez. Gives up 1 run. But a Herculean effort tonight by Jordy Lopez. His longest outing of his career. And quite frankly, Steve, he's kept the Bears in the game.
yeah, again, considering where the game was when he entered the game to where it is now, tip your cap to Jordy Lopez.
We've played 3.5, and the Bears trail 5-1. Bottom of the 4th, Campbell, Schmidt, and Olmstead here to face Torin O'Haron. O'Haron's been very effective through the first 3, only giving up 1 run, which is unearned. As Kate Campbell strides to the plate, he grounded to third back in the first inning.
Yeah, it was Campbell's grounder on which Stanford could have and maybe should have turned a 5-4-3 double play, but the error on the relay throw allowed the Bears to get their run.
Fouled off by Campbell, 0-1. Okay, Steve, I'm going to ask you the tough question. You, like I've talked about your career, 25 years with the Chronicle, 15 with KPIX?
16, actually.
16.
For those
so,
of you scoring at home.
So a huge career, Bay Area sports. I'll get actually the question after this pitch. Fouled off at the plate. And foul ball. I didn't know. The umpire, Francis, had his arm up like he was going to make a call. I couldn't tell what he was calling there, but he was calling foul ball. Who is the athlete in the Bay Area that has had the most influence on Bay Area sports? Now, the easy thing to do is go recent, but let's go back your entire career.
My entire career, I think you'd have to go one of these 3, or maybe even 4. The 3 that came to mind right away would be Joe Montana, Barry Bonds, and Steph Curry. Of course, as I say that, I think Ricky Henderson could be right there. Jerry Rice could be right there.
Base hit by Campbell to right field. Nice job of hitting. That was a ball low and away. Again, not trying to do too much with it. Had a good approach at the plate. And he rips a base hit to right to lead off the inning for the Bears.
Jim, what do you think?
Well, the guys you mentioned, of course. It's always crazy to think the best or the most of anything. I mean, obviously, in recent history, Curry. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. But you know what? I'll go back. People talk about Curry, and obviously one of the greatest of all time. How about Rick Barry?
Rick Barry, absolutely. Now, he did precede my professional career covering Bay Area sports. But Rick Barry was Larry Bird before Larry Bird.
Yes. Carl Schmidt takes a slider for a strike from O'Hara. He's down 0-1. Campbell, the runner over at first. And a fastball dips low and in. That was a two-seamer going in on the knee of Carl Schmidt. Yeah, but I mean, guys like him that are kind of forgotten now. Of course, if we went, you said it right. It's during your career. So there's a ground ball. That's a base hit to right field. Campbell will hold at second. And that's something you don't see very much from Carl Schmidt, a base hit to the right side. But you know what? Good for him. He didn't, again, try to do too much with it. Just went with the pitch. He socked it in the right field. And that's something, listen, the Bears have had an interesting year, Steve. Their pitching has been outstanding. Third in the league in ERA. They're dead last in on-base percentage, walks, runs scored. And one of the reasons is they don't get a lot of hits like that one. That was a nice piece of hitting by both Campbell and Schmidt.
Jim, when I was talking with Mike New earlier this week, I asked him, have you ever been involved in a season with as many high highs and low lows as the Bears have had in 2026? And he couldn't think of one. And I just say, it's really hard to win 11 games in a row. Really hard. It's really hard to lose 10 games in a row. And to have those things happen back to back, it's almost impossible. And give the Bears credit. They had a 10-game losing streak. They were 1-11 in the ACC. And Mike and I were talking about this. A lot of teams at that point, the season's done. They've got no chance. But give Mike New and the Bears credit. They have really rebounded the last 4 or 5 weeks and turned what looked like it could be a very dismal 2026 into at least something about which they can be proud. And again, it's not completely out of the question that they could wind up in an NCAA regional.
Lawson Olmsted steps in now. Now, again, talking about strategy at the plate here, Steve, his job is to move the runners over. And he's going to do it in a very good way, and a throw to first, and they just get him. So nice play by O'Hara on that squibbler down the third baseline, just nailing Olmsted. Olmsted isn't the fastest guy on the field, but he did his job there. I was about to say, his job is to move the runners over. Now they have 2 chances. Base hit, scores 2 runs, and again, then they're only down by 2.
Yeah, and again, 2 things. One, put the ball in play and something good can happen. And give Taron O'Hara credit. That's the second time he's come off the mound and had to go to his right and throw back to first base. He did it with Kennedy in the first inning. Really good plays by Taron O'Hara.
Now, Eric Hart up. The corners are in, Sasaki and Moran, but Bates at short and John at second are back. They'll give up the run if he can hit the ball up the middle. If he goes to third or first, they would probably come home. 0-1. Popped up out of play so quickly. Eric Hart down 0-2. Now, this is where, again, we've talked about the approach at the plate. He's got to shorten up here and just make contact. A strikeout here is an absolute wasted at-bat. And I'll talk about unforced errors. To me, that's an unforced error.
Okay, so if you're on the mound, though, and you're O'Hara and you know that, are you throwing a waste pitch here?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
just a bit outside. Yes, I think he was throwing a waste pitch there.
Well, I will give Carl Schmidt some credit there because he went about halfway to third thinking that Cade Campbell was going to go to the plate, but Campbell really couldn't. The ball was back off the backstop so quickly. But then Schmidt alertly went back to second. That could have been a disaster for the Bears.
I was about to say, strike ball. Ball a little low on that slider. Nice pitch by O'Hara. You said waste pitch. To me, there's no such thing as a waste pitch.
Okay.
You may want to throw a pitch that's not a strike, but you want to throw a pitch that a guy may chase. Ground ball to short. That will score the run. It's bobbled. Throw to first. Not in time. Bobbled. Third error of the game by the Cardinal. Bates came up with it, but it came out of his glove. And by the time he could pick it up, Eric Hart has good speed. Now, French had to hold at second because the ball was in front of him. But, right there, another good piece of hitting, Steve. 2 strikes on him. All he did was hit a ground ball, but good things happen when you put the ball in play.
Put the ball in play, and something good will happen. And again, now I think they're giving him a base hit on that. I don't see another error up there at the moment. I'm a little surprised. That ball was hit hard, but it was right at Bates. I would think that's an error. Now it looks like they're switching it. Now they are calling it an error. That's the 3rd error for Stanford, and now we're in the 4th inning.
So time is called. There will be a little discussion here on the mound. They may be changing pitchers. This is Kodama, who's a left-handed hitter, and they've had a left-handed arm warming up down in the bullpen. So, Steve, we may see a change here.
Yeah, again, Taron O'Haron has pitched well for Stanford, and Stanford hasn't, as we said, hasn't gotten much from its starting pitching this season. For him to have taken this game into the 4th with Stanford having a 3-run lead, 1 out in the 4th, I think David Esker, if you would have told him before the game you're going to get that out of Taron O'Haron, I think he would have said, thank you very much.
Absolutely. He's pitched very well. Like you said, they've given up, 3 errors. So none of these are really his fault. And the balls that he gave up, the base hits, weren't exactly clobbered either.
No.
So a long meeting here on the mound. I'm surprised our home plate umpire isn't up. Now, we are going to have a change. So we will let you know who the new pitcher is when we come back. New pitcher for the Cardinal, Cohen Gomez. And, Steve, what can you tell me about him?
Cohen Gomez, 6'3", 225-pound right-handed sophomore from Anaheim Hills. He is 3-1 this season with a 6.27 ERA. He pitched in all 3 of Stanford's games against NC State over the weekend. Now, he didn't pitch a lot. He pitched 1 inning on Friday, a third of an inning on Saturday, and a third of an inning on Sunday. So he did get worked. Did get work, I should say, against the Wolfpack, and now he comes in with 2 runners on and 1 out here in the 4th.
Facing Ethan Kodama, who takes a fastball down for ball 1. Bears have French, the runner, or check that, Schmidt, the runner out at second. Eric Hart, the runner at first. Kodama shows bunt, pulls it back. That's ball 2. Now,
with 1 out, I don't think he's sacrificing there. Do you, Jim?
No. I didn't see where Moran, the third baseman, was. Now he's up on the grass. Sasaki playing back behind the bag. There's a little bit of a shift to the right side as Gomez turns and fakes a throw to second base.
And inevitably, there were 4 or 5 people in the stands calling for a balk.
Always.
Always.
That's just like the person who yells, "Get in the hole!" Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, a couple times last weekend it did at the Trias.
Yeah.
Fastball down, so 3-0 now to Ethan Kodama. Steve, did you ever cover golf?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. Those guys play a game with which I am not familiar.
Well, they hit the ball so darn far you can't see it.
Yeah. And they make a few more putts than, dare I say, I do.
That's fastball at the letters. Kodama thought it was up, but it's a called strike. 3-1 now to Ethan.
All right, Jim, if you're Mike New here, Ethan Kodama, 3-1 count, pitcher just in. Do you let Kodama swing or do you?
3-1, yes.
All right.
Schmidt takes his lead at second. Ground ball to second base. They'll turn at 1 and throw to first, not in time. Eric Hart slid hard into second base. That kept Bates from being able to make the throw to first. So Kodama hit the ball hard, but unfortunately hit it right to Jeong, who tossed over to Bates for out number 2. Schmidt moves over to third. So Bears have runners at the corners now for a guy they want up there in Hideki Prather. Prather tonight so far singled and has struck out. Oh, check that. Gannon Snyder. My bad. That was Ethan Kodama who grounded. Now you got Gannon Snyder. Thank you, Steve, for pointing that out to me. Kodama had grounded to Gion. So that brings up Gannon Snyder, who, as I mentioned earlier, the transfer from Wichita State, pressed into service when Joshua Hansen was injured. So Kodama had to go to center. Snyder's been the right fielder ever since. Hit his first Golden Bear home run last week against Virginia. Takes a breaking ball just off the plate. Good-looking pitch from Gomez. He's got a nice overhand curveball you don't see too much anymore. The old 12-6 spin.
Yep, the left-handed or the right-handed version of the Barry Zito left-handed 12-6.
Yes. Popped up. Called for by Sasaki. He is now in foul ground. Right at the bag. He catches it for out number 3. The Bears go down, but pick up a run. We've gone 4 full. Stanford leading Cal by a score of 5-2 here on the ACC Extra Network. New pitcher for the Bears, Tanner Grove, freshman left-hander from Lodi. Steve, what do you got on him?
Yeah, 1-9.
Nadai takes a breaking ball down low from Tanner Grove, who has been very effective for the Bears, young freshman, left-hander from Lodi. Now he looks into Prather and delivers to Nadai. There's a breaking ball for a strike. You know what's striking to me? Thinking back the old days, when you look at Tanner Grove, we say 6'1". Compared to all these other guys, he looks small. We never even had a guy 6'1" when I was playing here.
Yeah, the Bears, their rotation could be guys who could easily be tight ends or linebackers.
All of these guys. Yeah, bigger, faster, stronger, they say about the athletes today. Think about the size of the offensive, defensive linemen versus 30 years ago.
Yes. No question.
2 balls, 1 strikes to Nadai, who has popped up twice, and he takes ball 3.
Closing the book on Jody Lopez, 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 run earned, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts.
Bears pulled over, full shift to the left side. Grounder to Kennedy, who guns it over to Murillo for out number 1. They were positioned perfectly that time. You know, the shift, you and I talked about it before the game, and because we're old-timers, we keep talking about that. But, you know, for 100 years, people played straight away. You didn't see a lot of big shifts. And normally, quite frankly, I don't like them. I think it's just not part of the game. Yet in that case, it worked pretty well.
Yeah, and Jet Kennedy's defense maybe hasn't gotten the attention that his offense has in his very strong freshman season. But again, talking with Mike New, he was very high on Jet Kennedy's defense as well.
Luke Lavin at the plate. He has popped up twice. This will be the 3rd time as Schmidt got a late jump on it, but runs in to make the catch for out number 2.
Yeah, that was one of those balls, I think Carl Schmidt, he thought that Lavin got more of it than he really did, and he was able to, lucky for Schmidt, ball hung up, he was able to come in and make the play without too much difficulty.
You know, one of the toughest plays for an outfielder, Steve, is the one that goes right at you.
Yeah.
Because it's tough to judge it, particularly for a center fielder. And, you know, a lot of times you'll see him freeze, and you go, well, why did he freeze? Well, because he couldn't judge, you know, where it was going. Broxell up, 0 for 2, pop up, grounder to second. Takes a ball down low. 2-0, or check that, 1-1. Grounder to first. That was fisted. Picked up by Murillo. Takes it himself to the back. Quick 1-2-3 by Tyler Grove. We play 4.5. Bears trailing 5-2 coming up here on the ACC Extra Network. Cohen Gomez now out for his second inning of work. He'll be facing Prather, Kennedy, and Murillo, top of the Bears lineup. 5-2 here in the bottom of the fifth inning. 5 runs, 5 hits, 3 errors for the Cardinals. 2 runs on 4 hits, no errors for the Bears. Popped up by Prather out of play, 0-1. But when I say no errors for the Bears, I look back in the first inning, and Jet Wright, 3 walks, 2 hit batters. They're not counted as errors, but come on, that's what they are, in effect. Swung and missed by Prather. He just waved at that one. I think he was fooled by that breaking ball from Gomez. Every time I hear the name Gomez as a pitcher, I think of Lefty Gomez, the Hall of Famer who was from right here in Rodeo, California. Swung and missed by Prather. He goes down for the second time on strikes, and Jet Kennedy will now step in.
So you're going to call Cohen Gomez Righty Gomez?
Righty Gomez, yeah. So righty starts out with a strikeout. Gomez, of course, Lefty Gomez, played with Ruth and Gehrig and all those great Yankee teams, and was one of the first real practical jokers in baseball. But a lot of people don't know this. After he retired from being a pitcher with the Yankees, I think he managed in the minors for a number of years. As Gomez checks Kennedy, and he throws first pitch. Jet fouls it off to the left out of play. But he then went on to become a representative for the Wilson Sporting Goods Company for years. And when I was working for Easton, I used to hang out with him.
Pretty cool.
At conventions and all. Oh, was he funny. Gosh darn. And if I could only save some of his stories, you know. Fastball down low. Count now 1-1 to Jet Kennedy. But the American Baseball Coaches Association, 10,000 members strong, has an award they give out every year to one person. One person. And it's the Lefty Gomez Award. And it's about the most prestigious award you can win in amateur baseball. And it's named after a guy who was a great ambassador for the game.
Very cool.
Bay Area guy. Grew up in Rodeo. Passed away when he was living in San Mateo. Check that, San Rafael. Fly ball to center. That's hit a long way. And going back and now turning is McDonald. And he catches it. He turned and ran like he thought that might go further, but then he caught up with it, made the grab for out number 1. So Kennedy gave it a ride to no avail, and that'll bring up Daniel Murillo. 2 down here now in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, that's one of those balls that maybe during the day, without the heavy air that you get here at night games at the Stew, that might have gotten to the wall or even over the ball. That ball was hit really well.
It was, and it's interesting. I was talking to David Esker about this before the game. Of course, everybody knows Eske coached here for 18 years. And we were talking about the difference playing at night because, we didn't have lights here until 2015.
Yep.
And he asked me, hey, how's the ball carrying here? And I told him in the games I've done this year, swung through by Murillo, count now 0-2 to Daniel. The games I've had this year, Steve, the night games are the ones where the ball's going. I mean, Roxy and I have seen just gargantuan balls fly out of this place at night. So it just depends on, I guess, which night. There's a grounder along the line, hauled in by Moran, guns it over to Sasaki, out number 3. Bears go quietly. We've played 5 full. Stanford still leading 5-2 here on ACC Extra Network. Top of the 6th. Cardinal coming up. Bates, Tokheim, and McDonald. And Steve, between innings, some of the Cal players took the drag and, dragged the infield. And I thought to myself, that's what I was pretty good at when I was here. So, I think I was number one dragger.
Yeah. So you can give some analysis of the dragging
Grounder
as well.
grounder to Murillo, unassisted again. And that's one when you're a pitcher, Steve, and you throw that first pitch of an inning and it's a ground out, it's like, thank you.
Very much.
Tokheim steps in now, 2 singles and a fly ball to Schmidt in left. Back in the first inning, Tokheim singled after Charlie Bates had been hit by a pitch, and that certainly added flame to that fire where the Cardinal put up 4 runs. Grounder to Campbell, just wide of the base for strike 1 to Teddy Tokheim. As you were mentioning, one of the top freshman hitters in the country. Ball in the dirt from Tanner Grove. 2-1 now to Tokheim. Steve, I got a question for you. I've often been curious. As a sports writer, you would cover the Giants, for example.
Yep.
And you have kids who are students here at Cal or at other schools. Ball 3 to Tokheim, and they have projects they have to do. They got to turn in term papers, and they have a deadline. When you're a sports writer, you're on deadline every day, aren't you?
Most days, not all, but most. Yeah, and well, that's part of the job. And
strike 2 now. Count full to Tokheim. That was a fastball tailing away from Teddy.
As my wife Jeanette might say, I'd probably work better on a deadline because and I say that in some sense seriously as well, because it makes you focus, so to speak.
Popped up center field. Ethan Kodama hauls it in for out number 2. Well, what I find interesting is when you're like a student and you've got to do a term paper, you have time to think about it, research it, get references. When you're a sports writer, game is at 10 o'clock. You got to have that story into the paper by what, 11:30? Man, you got to write it right now.
Well, the way things go these days is you basically write 2 stories. You write a story.
Swung and missed by McDonald on a sweeping curveball from Tanner Grove. McDonald 1 for 2, walked, hit into a force out and singled.
You write a story as the game is going and then file that as soon as the game ends. And so you kind of build that just with what happened during the game and maybe some pregame interviews, and then go down and do interviews and either just plunk some if the story kind of holds, you kind of just plunk a couple of interviews. But if the game ended dramatically and you might have to rewrite that story after you do the interviews.
Imagine it might get a little frustrating.
Yeah, there are times. I can tell you one of the great moments to cover, but had some internal struggle, so to speak. I got to cover Matt Cain's perfect game in 2012.
Ball 3 to McDonald. Now they really don't want to walk him and have Sasaki come up with a man on first. Well, that had to be a thrill.
It was a great thrill. There was some frustration during the process, was having all kinds of issues with my computer, that kind of thing. But yeah, to say now, 13 years later, that I got to write about Matt Cain's perfect game is pretty cool.
Well, I think there was a blink there by the umpire. Prather turned and looked at our home plate umpire, Jeff Francis, kind of questioning, where did that one miss? Because I think that was a curveball that absolutely froze McDonald. But he'll take his walk, and with 2 down, now that brings up Vintaro Sasaki. I think the Bears would have preferred to have Sasaki lead off the next inning, but they're going to have to get him out here.
No question. I'll quickly say I obviously did not major in math because Matt Cain's perfect game in 2012 was 14 years ago, not 13.
Like Gary Radnich used to say, nobody cares.
That's true. That's very true.
And it had to be fun for you, too, to, hobnob, get to know so many of the great, media personalities here in the Bay Area.
That, and certainly some of the best athletes and coaches as well. I don't take it for granted.
You were telling me a couple of weeks ago, you had the chance to go to the Hall of Fame induction here at Cal for another great former Golden Bear sports writer.
Yeah, it was a really special kind of emotional day here. A few Saturdays ago, there was a memorial service for Bob Milano here at the ballpark.
Fouled off by Sasaki, so he's down in the count 1-2.
And later that afternoon, the Daily Cal Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Daily Cal Hall of Fame, I believe, has been in existence for only 3 years, but the first sports writer inducted into the Daily Cal Hall of Fame, very deservedly, Bruce Jenkins.
A great writer for the Examiner, I think, and Chronicle.
Mainly the Chronicle.
For years and years.
And he's still writing once a week for the Sunday.
Runner goes. Check swing, and the ball goes into center field. So an error on a poor throw by Prather. Now with 2 outs, you might think, well, that's okay, 2 outs. But unfortunately now that means any pass ball, wild pitch, error, base hit scores a run. And right now, as we're in the 6th inning, Bears already trail by 3. They can't afford to give up runs that easily.
Yeah, and it's easy for me to say sitting here, but I'm thinking Prather's mistake wasn't necessarily the physical bad throw. It was just throwing in the first place because he really didn't have a chance to get the run.
Grounded into right field for a base hit. So, Steve, the Bears pitching staff this year has been very solid, but the one area where they need to work on, they get 2 outs, nobody on, and then they give up a run, like in a case like that. And that probably would not have scored the runner from second. It was hit so hard, but, the error allowed the runner McDonald to move over to third. So Sasaki drives in the run. Bears now trail by 4, 6-2.
And Grove had set down the first 5 hitters he faced before that walk.
This is where he has to step off, collect his thoughts, try to get that, that groove going back again.
Jim, you say that, but now with the pitch clock, that's not as easy to do anymore, right?
That's true. No, you're right. Good point. But he could call timeout. Now, ball was dropped by Prather. Jong, the hitter, hit by a pitch, singled, and walked, so he's been perfect tonight as far as on-base percentage goes.
You think he'll mention that to his brother after the game?
2-0. Swung and missed on a fastball. 2 balls, 1 strike to Eric Jong. McDonald, your runner over at first. Grove to the plate and fouled off. So, I said Grove needs to step off and get in a groove. You call it a Grove groove.
Very well put. I think that was a dance craze in the late 60s. Wasn't it the Grove Groove?
There might have been. If not, there should have been.
Yeah.
McDonald, 2 for 3 on stolen bases so far this season. As we mentioned, Cardinal don't run much, and that's strike 3 to McDonald. But, you look back on that inning, Steve, and you say, well, good inning, but a mistake. And unfortunately cost the Bears a run. So Cardinal pick up a run. We have played 5.5. Bears coming up, trailing 6-2 here on the ACC Extra Network. Cohen Gomez back out again, and he'll be facing Cade Campbell, Carl Schmidt, and Lawson Olmstead. Bears trail by 4. 6 runs, 6 hits, 3 errors by the Cardinal. 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 error by the Bears. Error last inning hurt them. So the Bears, as we now go into the 6th inning, Steve, they've got to be thinking base runners.
Yeah, that's only way you're going to erase a 4-run lead. I don't think you're going to hit 4 solo homers in an inning. I could be wrong, but...
Well, case in point here, Campbell swings through that first pitch. They've got the shift on the whole right side. Sasaki's off the bag a little bit. Huge hole to the right. This is where Cade needs to shorten up, punch the ball into right field. And that was a ball away from him, but he opened the shoulder and wasn't able to
It looked
make
like
solid contact.
Yeah, it looked like he was maybe trying to, but he hadn't gotten himself in the right position to do so.
You know, I make it sound like it's so simple to do, and that's injustice to the hitters.
And to the pitcher as well.
Yeah, I mean, when that pitcher's coming at 90 miles an hour, but this is stuff you work on.
Yep.
One ball, 2 strikes to Cade Campbell. One for 2 tonight, grounded to third and singled. Takes the ball down low, so 2-2. To the Bears' leadoff hitter here in the 6th. Now Gomez from the stretch. Now that time he looked like he was trying to go to right field. I thought that was a nice swing on that pitch.
Yeah, and that pitch was not an easy pitch to hit. He
No.
did put a very good swing on it.
It came up there at 93 miles an hour. So Cade battling here. It's all you can do.
Yep.
There's a breaking ball or a changeup that ran inside. So Cade's done a good job here, staying alive, running the count to 3-2. And ball 4. That was a breaking ball that Campbell held up on. Nice job by Cade Campbell. Now that's as good as a base hit.
No question. And Jim, from the pitching perspective, a little surprised with a 4-run lead on a 3-2 count leading off the inning that you would go to a breaking ball. Wouldn't you think you throw a fastball there?
Well, it depends. You know, there's some pitchers that they have more control of their curveball than they do their fastball. So I think he just went with the pitch that he thought he could get him out, and he just missed. And quite frankly, he just missed with it. So Carl French steps in now, or Carl Schmidt. He takes a strike on a breaking ball. So 0-1 to Schmidt, who also singled his last at-bat. Pops this one out foul, out of play. 0-2 now to the Golden Bear left fielder. Lawson Olmsted on deck.
Campbell, the first base runner off of Cohen Gomez. He had retired the first 5 hitters he faced.
And foul at the plate. Schmidt stays alive. Now, sometime here, Steve, you were talking about, the perfect game that, you were reporting on for the Chronicle, I guess, that night, or for KPIX. I'm not sure.
For the Chronicle.
For the Chron. After this pitch, I'm going to ask you the next question.
Okay.
And a breaking ball called strike 3. He just froze Schmidt. Was the perfect game your greatest moment as a journalist, or there was another play you were telling me about that is known as the
play?
Play.
I say they're 1 and 1A, but the play is just a little bit ahead of Matt Cain's perfect game. There have been 20-something perfect games in the history of Major League Baseball. There will be only one the play.
Breaking ball down low to Olmsted.
And you quickly like to throw in the name Al Lopez, because when we were at KPIX, when I was at KPIX those days, we did not have access to the video because there was no live telecast. So
fly ball to deep left field, going back, and it's hauled in by Nady.
Another one of those balls that maybe during the day when it's not so when the air is not so heavy, that ball might have been out of here.
Well, he gave it a good ride, came close, but like you said, the ball hung up. And Steve, we can see here from the press box, we can see the mist in the lights, which tells me the fog is coming in, kind of like the old Candlestick days,
Yep.
or like at Oracle Park now, where when that fog comes in, that's heavy air, folks.
Yep. Just to put a capper on the play, was shot by Al Lopez. people have seen the play for decades now, but there are two different versions. There's the TV version, and then there's the Al Lopez version, which is actually a much better version of the play. He got Kevin Moan rolling over Gary Terrell in the end zone, Gary Terrell and his trombone. So tip of the cap to Al Lopez for really Hall of Fame video work that day, November 20th, 1982.
Oh, day, Cal fans. And unfortunately, for Stanford fans, unfortunately, will never remember. Swung and missed by Ericart. By the way, I apologize. I was said Nady made that catch. It's Nadi out in left field. So
there was a pretty good Nady here who played here about 25, 26 years ago.
And spent 12 years in the big leagues, arguably the greatest baseball player in the history of Cal. Was along with Andrew Vaughn, of course, who won the Golden Spikes Award. Nady was in the Golden Spikes, certainly conversations. And that's always, again, we talk about, the best ever. We were talking about the athletes you covered. 3-1 to Ericart, fouls that one back to the screen. So now with 2 strikes, Campbell will be running on the pitch. Now Moran goes over, covers the line down at third. Runner goes, swung and missed by Ericart. Bears go down after getting the leadoff man via the walk to Campbell, but they can't play any runs. We played 6 full. Cardinal leading the Bears by a score of 6-2. J.J. Moran to lead off for the Cardinal here in the top of the 7th. He'll be facing Tanner Grove. Moran, Nadi, and Luke Lavin scheduled for the Cardinal.
Last year, Cal went to Sunken Diamond and did something Cal hadn't done at Sunken Diamond ever.
I could not believe that when I heard it, because they've been playing over 100 years. Tell the audience, what did they do?
Cal swept the 3-game series at Sunken Diamond. Now, I don't know that the records, I'm not saying this jokingly, I don't know if the records go back before Sunken Diamond came into play at Stanford, but Cal had not swept a 3-game series until last year. So, Jim, as a former player and a coach, would that motivate you the following year, or is that old news?
Motivate Cal or motivate Stanford?
Both, but more important, probably more Stanford.
The only thing, Steve, I'd say, most likely if it was the same players. But both teams have so many new faces that I'm not sure that what happened last year really carries over. Fouled off again by Moran. Count remains 0-2 to the Cardinal third baseman.
In fact, that series really started a tailspin for the Cardinal last season. And Stanford had been really good up until that season. And then Cal kind of went in a tailspin right after that series.
Rounded foul out of play. Moran stays alive, 0-2. It's interesting talking about all the great. I look out on that wall in left field and see those great Cal players. Steve, you and I haven't done a game together, but Cal, I wrote my book, Bears and the Bigs, a few years ago. And it blew me away when I realized that Cal is in the top 5% of all Division I programs, another foul by Moran, of putting guys in the big leagues. And Stanford's put more than Cal has. I mean, both these two programs have put probably, I'm going to guess, about 150 to 170 guys into Major League Baseball, which is just phenomenal.
Jim, coming over here, I had jotted down some names from fairly recent past players who played for Bob Milano at Cal or played for Mark Marquis at Stanford. Some Cal guys. Jeff Kent, who happens to be going to the Hall of Fame.
First Cal player to go to the Hall of Fame.
Indeed. You can talk about Jeff Blum, Xavier Nady, Darren Lewis, Bob Melvin, Brian Price, who didn't play in the majors, but was a major league manager. If you're talking Stanford, you're talking Steve Buechele, Mike Aldretti, Jack McDowell, who won a Cy Young Award.
Swung and missed by Moran. Nice curveball by Tanner Grove. Call him Lefty Grove.
There you go.
And there's a strikeout to lead off the 7th inning. Oh, those names are Mike Mussina, Jack Morris. Oh, not Jack Morris,
McDowell.
Jack McDowell. Funny story about McDowell, which I was talking to Dave Esker before the game.
They were teammates, right?
Well, they were on the 87 Stanford team. Grounder to short. Kennedy's got it. Guns to first. And I think Cal's going to take a look at this one. Maybe not. It looked like Murillo tagged him. That was a ball that Kennedy let play him a little bit. He was a little late with his throw, and it was high, but they're not going to challenge it. I thought he actually caught the ball and came down and tagged him.
I think he did, but I thought that he had already got to the bag by the time the tag was made.
So Nedi gets on thanks to the error by Jet Kennedy. So with one down, that'll bring up Luke Lavin. And Lavin rips a ground ball into left field for a base hit. Nice piece of hitting by Lavin. So the Bears now in a little bit of trouble here in the top of the 7th. Anyway, David was telling me this story, and I remember this because I was at the game when I was working for Easton. 87, Cal was playing Stanford. They had a game here. And, it was like on a Wednesday. It was a weird schedule. And Aldretti's brother, Rich Aldretti, hits a home run. Played for Cal.
Right.
And he hits a home run. And as he rounded the bases, he kind of, shook his hand and all that stuff in the air. And the first pitch to Broxell is down low for a ball. Anyway, so the next batter was Jeff Kent. And Jack McDowell was pitching. He didn't like the way that Aldretti ran around the bases. Well, he plunked Kent. Next pitch, off the plate. Rose got to be careful here. He doesn't want to load the bases with only one down. Anyway, the next day, Ed Sprague came for the Cardinal, and I don't know who the Cal pitcher was, but he drilled Sprague. I mean, first, boom, right in the ribs. I have never seen, I don't know where that one missed, but it's ball 3.
I don't think Tanner Grove knows either.
This has been a very tight strike zone by Jeff Francis, and unfortunately not to the benefit of Tanner Grove right here with 2 outs and 2 on. 3-0 count now to number 9 hitter, Brock Sell. And it's a ball 4. So I don't look again. It's tough to see a strike zone when you're as far away as we are. But boy, those pitches seem awfully close. But it's ball 4 nonetheless. Cardinal have the bases loaded here in the late innings and leading by 4. The Bears got to keep it here, Steve.
Hey, here's a dilemma for you, Jim. Do you play the infield in or not? I would not. Down 4, and I would try to get the double play ball. But there is some thought maybe you play the corners in. But Daniel Murillo at first was playing back.
I would bring the corners in, and I would play the shortstop, second baseman in double play. And it looks like that's what they're doing. Campbell's up close to the grass. Murillo's now coming up almost on the grass. So a grounder to Murillo or Campbell gives them the option to either go home or try to turn the double play. And the first pitch is, again, off the plate. Close pitches. It gets frustrating for a pitcher when they're that close and they don't get the call. It gets frustrating for the players, too.
Yeah, and as we mentioned at the beginning of the game, Jet Wright, when he was on the mound, his pitches were not close. But there have been close pitches from both sides that have not been called strikes in the last few innings.
2-0. Bears in trouble here. Action down in their pen. Fly ball to right, left. This will score a run. Schmidt will run over. He'll make the grab. Jeez. At first I couldn't tell, but he did catch it knee high. But that scores a run for the Cardinals. So that error comes back to haunt the Bears. Bates gets the RBI fly ball, sacrifice. And the Cardinals up their lead now to 7-2. Anyway, the brawl that broke out, Esker and I were laughing about it because he was the shortstop for Stanford then. I said, well, did you get involved in it? Yeah, there were fisticuffs. I mean, this was not just a little time now called as Chris Bodespal will make his way to the mound, so we'll have a chance to continue this story.
Okay.
And I said, David, did you get involved? Because I was in the stands that day, and I'm going, oh, my Lord, this is a, every guy squaring off kind of thing. And he said, are you kidding? You're like, would you accuse me of getting involved with something stupid like that?
Well, that kind of brings up to the next level of the Stanford-Cal rivalry. I think most people on both sides would agree that thankfully it is not Auburn, Alabama, or BYU, Utah, or Ohio State, Michigan, when people really often go over the line. But I also think it's not kumbaya. It isn't as if Cal and Stanford people just are loving each other. I'd like to say there's a lot of mutual respect mixed with healthy disdain.
See, that's why you're a sports writer, man. You eloquently portray it the way it should be. All right, we're going to have a pitching change here. We'll be back with you to tell you who's coming in just a moment. Take Christ now takes over for Lefty Grove. Steve, tell us about Take.
Take's a freshman, 6'3", 185 from Foothill High in Pleasanton. He's one of those pitchers that Cal has a few of them when there are a lot of plate appearances without the ball being put in play. Take Christ has pitched 17 and 2/3 innings. The good news for Cal fans, he struck out 22. The bad news is he's walked 19.
Well, there's no doubt that Cal has arms, talented arms with stuff. Problem is they need to learn. And these are a lot of, like Jet Wright's a freshman.
Sure.
Take Christ is a freshman. Kate Columbara is a freshman. Otto Espinosa, freshman. All incredible arms who are going to learn how to pitch at this level, Steve. But, it's a learning process.
Yep. And the only way to learn, not the only way, but the best way to learn is to get out there and do it.
He's got to do it here. He's got two guys on. First and second with two down. A run in for the Cardinal. Now, a little discussion here again. And I believe it's a different world.
Yes.
The electric world in baseball where the pitchers are getting the sign from the pitching coach via the voice. And again, like you said earlier, I remember the days of fingers.
And it's not that long ago. And look, you don't want to sound like the crotchety old man telling the kids to get off my lawn. And I get that theoretically it's supposed to speed up the game because particularly when you have a runner at second base, which Stanford does, that runner at second base, you can't play the cat and mouse game of the runner at second being able to look into the signs from the catcher and then relay that to the hitter. But how many times do we see, not only in college baseball, but in the majors as well, pitchers and catchers having to readjust the electronics in the cap?
So Tokheim steps in to face Christ here with runners at first and second. Two down. Cardinal leading by 5. There's a ball inside.
Tokheim wasn't too thrilled by that pitch that almost hit him in the left knee.
Maybe there's a message to that pitch that I own the inside part of the plate. I like that when a pitcher does that. He's not trying to hit him. But, hey, that inside belongs to me, man. Check swing. Miss somewhere. Again.
Might have been a bit low.
About the count now, 2-0 to Tokheim. Dangerous hitter with a 2-0 count. Ball 3.
And here's one for you, Jim. 3-0 count with a new pitcher, but you're probably your best hitter up there. Do you give him the green light?
Absolutely. A hitter like Tokheim, yes. Yeah. And called strike. 3-1 now to the Cardinal DH.
He's definitely got the green light on 3-1, no question.
Rice checks the runner. 3-1 pitch on the way. And slap foul. Full count now. Runners will be going. That's Lavin over at second. Broxell, the runner, at first. 7-2 Cardinal, 2 down. We're in the 7th inning. Bears trying to get out of trouble here. And a fastball by Kreis. And another walk. So Court McDonald will now step in. McDonald has walked twice tonight, singled, and actually had a base hit taken away from him when Schmidt got the lead runner on a play that McDonald hit right in front of him. So bags loaded, no place to put them, and that's popped up. Kennedy calling it, now called off by Schmidt, who hauls it in for out number 3. Nice job by Kreis to get out of the inning, but not before the Cardinals score another one. They scored 1 run the last 2 innings and lead by 5 after 6.5. Left-hander Mike Erzbomber now takes over for the Cardinal, bottom of the 7th. What do you got on him, Steve?
Jim, let me move the pages here a bit. Let's see if I can get to Erzbomber's stats. I can tell you he's a left-hander. That I can tell you. Let me get up here.
Sorry, partner, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus.
Well,
came back a little quick.
That's okay. I've been bussed before, and deservedly so.
And you're right, left-hander out there on the mound.
Let's see, Erzbomber, 1-1, 15 appearances, 6.06 ERA, 16 and a third innings, 13 hits, 11 walks, 18 strikeouts.
All right, so his job here is to hold a 5-run lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Kodama, Snyder, and Prather due up. You know, in all fairness to you, Steve, when we look at these rosters, used to be in the day you see 18 names on the roster. Now they've got like 180.
Yeah.
I mean, and trying to...
Thanks for trying to save me, but that was on me. I take it on the chin there.
You did great, buddy. All right, here we go. Bears trail by 5 in the bottom of the 7th. Kodama shows bunt as Moran came charging in.
You know, in tip of the cap to Cohen Gomez for Stanford. He goes 2 2/3. Not only no runs, but no hits. 1 walk. The only batter he allowed to reach base.
Very effective performance by Mr. Gomez. 2-0 to Kodama. Now, this is where the Bears have to be selective. You might want to take a pitch here. All right, fine. Now you've seen a strike. Now you go after them.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Make them throw strikes. I was watching the Giants game against the Dodgers the other night, and it was a Giant batter, and Mike Krukow was doing the color, and he said exactly that. Of course, the guy swung at the first pitch.
Okay.
There's an inside curveball from
Now
Bomber.
Now here, down 5 runs. You're the leadoff man, lefty on lefty. I think I would take here at 3-1.
Well, yeah, so would I, quite honestly. And it's up. You called it, partner.
Well, whether he was taken or not, it was out of the strike zone. But down 5, lefty on lefty, bottom of the order. I think you got to take and make that pitcher throw it. Basically, make him throw 2 strikes.
Well,
if he throws one on 3-1, he's still got to throw one on 3-2.
I can tell you, as a former pitching coach, when you have a 5-run lead in the 7th inning and you're facing your first hitter and you walk him, that's when the pitching coach, you want to go out and say a few words.
Probably a few words you can't say right now.
And that's exactly why Lavin went out there. I guarantee you, Steve, that came from the bench. They said, get out there and, chew his ear a little bit. Say, dude, we have a 5-run lead. We can't get him out if you walk. If you lay one in there and he backs it up over the rec center, all right, so what? But don't walk. Gannon Snyder now in, facing Erzbomber, and he takes a ball down low. So Now, right here, Steve, I would take a pitch.
Yeah.
Make him prove that he can throw strikes.
Again, you'd like to get multiple runners on base for Prater and Kennedy. Then you got a chance to get right back in the game.
Absolutely. 1-0. Fastball up, 2-0.
You're making him throw a strike right now.
The 2-0 delivery. That's fastball. Catches the inside for a strike. You know, people say, well, okay, that plate's only 17 inches wide. We're 60 feet, 6 inches away. You know, that's hard to do. And I go, yeah, I know it is. I used to try to do it. But that's what you're supposed to do. So, 2-1. Oh,
wow.
That is a call that for most of tonight has not been a strike, but it was there. That evens the count 2-2.
Pitchers on both sides have been maybe a little frustrated. Mr. Erbsfarmer must be a little thankful right now for that pitch.
Ball down. You know, one of the great, if you ever listen to the Giants games, you hear Mike Krukow say, he'll talk about the umpires during the game. Say, well, this guy is known as a high fastball strike umpire or a low, whatever. He'll give you the outside, but not the inside. And I'll finish the story on this one after this pitch. A big pitch in this game, 3-2. And Erbsfarmer can't believe it. Ball 4. So Erbsfarmer comes in, walks the first two Golden Bear hitters he has faced, bringing up the top of the order. Anyway, Sandy Alderson, we all remember Sandy. He used to be the GM, president of the A's. When he left the A's, he became head of umpires for Major League Baseball. And he was out here actually teaching a class at the Haas Business School, and I guest lectured one time, and I was having lunch with him. As Prather steps in now, struck out twice and singled. Bears have an opportunity here to knocking on the door. Kodama at second. Breaking ball in for a strike. Nice breaking ball there by Erbsfarmer. Anyway, Sandy was head of umpires. So I said to him, Sandy, I'm confused. The strike zone is a strike zone, right?
Right.
And why does Krukow say this umpire would give you the high one but not the low one or whatever? Next pitch, and that's a foul ball. Anyway, Sandy got visibly upset when I asked him that. He pounded the table. He goes, well, I won't use the expletive, but he said, Krukow should not be saying that. The strike zone is supposed to be the strike zone. An umpire should not determine what the strike zone is.
I feel his pain.
Oh, breaking ball, strike 3, and it was a beauty, and Prather knew it. So I hate to say a wasted at bat, but you can't have a much more of a wasted at bat than that.
Well, I'll say this in somewhat of Iggy Prather's defense here. That 0-2 pitch, if you're expecting that thing to be high and outside, and it's just a surprise breaking ball that got right over the plate, and sometimes you got to tip your cap to the pitcher. Erbsfarmer made a great pitch right there.
He did, but on the other hand, I'll say that's where the batter is to choke up on the bat and just make contact.
There you go.
Another breaking ball, this time to Kennedy for a strike. So Erbsfarmer, after walking the first two Golden Bears here in the bottom of the 7th, strikes out Prather and is ahead of Kennedy 0-1. And it's obvious it's the breaking ball that is his in and out pitch. There was a fastball that was tailing away from Kennedy. So perhaps it took Mike Erbsfarmer just a few pitches to get used to the mound and find his release point.
And it's where the bottom two guys in the order draw walks, and now the top two guys in the order, there have been 5 consecutive strikes.
Kodama, runner at second, takes his lead. Snyder at first. Kennedy fights that one off. A breaking ball, grounds it down the left field line out of play. So the count remains 0-2 to Jet. Bears trying to peck away at this 5-run Cardinal lead here in the bottom of the 7th.
Again, the huge hole on the right side.
Fastball struck him out. That was a 93 mile an hour, 93 mile an hour fastball that was up out of the zone, and Kennedy chased it. So, the 8 and 9 hitters get on via the walk. Your top hitters, Prather and Kennedy, then strike out.
That's baseball, as they say, right, Jim?
Funny game.
Yep.
That's why you play 9. Daniel Murillo steps in now, singled, hit by pitch, and is grounded to third. Takes a ball down and in, 1-0. Ball 2.
Bears are running out of outs. This is a big opportunity to get back in the game to close the gap. If they don't do it in this inning, it's not impossible to overcome, but it's going to be a very difficult task.
And there is ball 3. Now, obviously, you got your top hitter up here, but you've got to take pitches. You've got to make it go straight. You want to load the bases for Cade Campbell because Campbell's got power too.
Absolutely.
And there's ball 4. All right, so the Bears have an opportunity here. That's the third walk by Mike Erspamer. And Cade Campbell will come up. Campbell tonight grounded to third, singled, and also has walked.
Well,
So a long ball here, and the Bears are only down 1.
a base hit here, and they're down 4 or down 3,
Down
probably
3.
with a base hit almost anywhere unless it's an infield hit. I think you'd love to hit the ball out of the park, but just a base hit right now by Mr. Campbell, and the Bears would feel a lot better about themselves heading into the 8th and 9th.
Well, action down in the Cardinal bullpen, which you would expect after 3 walks by the left-hander. You're right, the funny game, because he walks the 8 and 9 hitters, then he's facing easily the Cal's 2 out of their 3 top hitters so far this season, struck them both out. Then he walks another guy to load the bases. So it's almost like he's saying, okay, I'm going to give you guys a chance to come back in this game.
I believe it was Robbie Ray last Friday night in the Giants game had an inning in which he had 3 walks and 3 strikeouts and didn't give up a run. Well, Mr. Armsbarber is not going to be able to do that because he's going to have 3 walks and 2 strikeouts to his line, and that's going to be it.
Well, that'll end the evening for Mike Erspamer. New pitcher coming in. We'll be right back. New pitcher for the Cardinal as we are here in the bottom of the 7th. 2 outs, but the Bears have the bases loaded. Trevor Moore has been brought in from David Esker's bullpen. What can you tell us, Steve, about Trevor Moore?
Yeah, Trevor Moore is kind of the main man in the Stanford bullpen. You're thinking that David Esker is saying the save, in a sense, is right here because Trevor Moore, 7-2, a 3.69 ERA with 4 saves, 45 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 39 innings. He's the main man out of the Stanford bullpen. I'm guessing David Esker is looking for him not only to get 1 out, but maybe to get 7.
Well, he'll be facing Cade Campbell, who has good power. A long ball here could make it a 1-run ball game, and there is a slider that's off the plate, 1-0. In this situation, we were talking about taking pitches. In this situation, I'd probably say, no, go. Switch.
Yes.
Because you've got the power, you got the bases loaded, and we need runs. So, and he's going to want to be throwing a strike, and he does there. Good-looking breaking ball on the outside. That one came in at 83.
I think it surprised Cade Campbell, too. After the first pitch was a ball, I'm thinking he's going to get a fastball there.
The 1-1, and there's a shot to right center. That's going to drop. That's going to score at least 2. That might score 3. 1 is in. 2 are in. 3 are in. And the Bears have cut the deficit. to just 2 with a runner at second and 2 down here in the bottom of the 7th. Cade Campbell hung with that pitch, ripped it to the Nike sign in right center. Driving in Kodama, Snyder, and Murillo.
And if you're David Esther, what's the old line? Oh, those bases on balls.
Well, absolutely. It's what's killed Cal tonight, and it's what's hurting Stanford right now. So here's Carl Schmidt with a chance to drive in a run that'll make it a 1-run ball game. A long ball would tie it. And Schmidt's got that kind of power. And the first pitch to Carl is hit to right field. If it stays fair, that could be trouble. And it does. That'll drive in a run. The ball in the corner as Schmidt runs in the second. The Bears have cut the deficit to 1 here with 2 outs. Boy, did those bases on balls come back to haunt the Cardinals.
You know, Jim, the Bears got their first at bat. They were down 4 runs. This is the closest they have been since the beginning of the game. And 2 outs, 2 on, and all of a sudden the third walk of the inning, then triple-double, and now it's 7-6.
And there's a ground in the hole that can tie it up. Schmidt rounds third. There's going to be a play at the plate, and they're going to get him. Well, he had to try, Steve, and it was a great throw from Nadai to nail Schmidt at home plate. He comes up limping a little bit, but the Bears tack on 4. We go to the 8th. It's a 1-run game, 7-6 Cardinal. Garrett Makoviak now has the job of keeping it a 1-run game as the Bears tacked on 4 there with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th and had the tying run thrown out at the plate. And Steve, we were in the press box, people were saying, should they have sent him? And the answer is absolutely. You got to take a chance.
Yeah, Nadai made a great throw, and it was out by plenty, but with 2 outs, and you've got something going, it's hard to think you've just already gotten 2 extra base hits, you got a single. It's hard to argue, even though the result was not what the Bears wanted. I think the process was what it was supposed to be.
It was the right process. So what do you know about Garrett Makoviak? What can you tell us?
I can tell you that his dad, Rob, played in the big leagues.
For the Pittsburgh Pirates, he sure did.
Garrett, 15 appearances this season, real bit, only 4 per inning. So hadn't had many long appearances, put it that way.
He is what is known in baseball as a specialist, and his job is to get left-handed hitters out. And I think the reason he is in here is for one guy, and that is Sasaki here in the top of the 8th.
Here's the difference between Major League Baseball and college baseball these days. In college baseball, he can pitch to one batter and be removed. In the majors right now, if he came in, he'd have to face at least 3.
Absolutely. So, and also the other big difference, you could put shifts on in college baseball. You can't in pro. The shift is on here, as you can see. That's Kennedy, who is normally out at second base. Campbell over third baseman in the shortstop hole. Eric Hart is in short right field. And, of course, Murillo's covering the line. So 1-1 here to Sasaki. Big power at the plate. Here's the next pitch. Grounded to Murillo. He's got it on 2 hops. He'll cover the bag himself. That is a big out for the Bears.
And, Daniel Murillo, they haven't been, I don't know exactly, they haven't been great plays, but he's made 3 or 4 really good plays. That ball was hit hard. That was not just a routine ground ball. And Daniel has had, again, 3 or 4 of those that he's made look easier than they were.
Well, Murillo was a shortstop at San Francisco State before he came to Cal. So he does have, infielders' hands. Chris Bodishball on his way to the mound now. I'm presuming that will be it for Makoviak. Like I said, his job was to get Sasaki, and he did it. So nice job, Mr. Makoviak. And we'll tell you about the new Bear pitcher as Makoviak exits. We'll be right back here on the ACC Network. Number 22, Cole Clark, comes in to replace Makoviak. He has been steady out of the Cal bullpen this year. Steve, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Cole Clark, a senior, he's having a good season. 3-3, 3.73 ERA, 24 appearances, 31 and a third innings pitched, 38 strikeouts, 12 walks. That's the kind of strikeout to walk ratio a pitching coach likes, right?
Absolutely. So Jones steps in now, and he fouls that one off behind the press box, 0-1. Jones tonight hit by a pitch, single, and walked.
Should throw in that Cole Clark leads the Bears in saves with 4.
The big right-hander checks with Prather, delivers the 0-1. Swung and missed by Jones. Good-looking slider there on the outside.
Jim, we were talking about earlier, you know, when Cal and Stanford get together in any sport at any time, things can go differently quickly. This was an all-Stanford game until 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, and now we got a 1-run game in the final 2 innings.
Well, the Bears have, fought their way back. Of course, the Cardinal never go easy, Steve. That's what makes this rivalry, so much fun to watch.
Absolutely.
So 1-2 now. Clark looks into Prather, kicks for the 1-2 pitch to Jones. Ball in the dirt. Prather blocks it. Count evens up.
Might have got him a little bit on the bare hand, too. That's not a lot of fun.
Well, that's important, though. You saw how you went out and blocked it. If that ball, let's say he didn't block it and Jones had swung and the ball had gone to the backstop, then the Cardinal get a runner. So you catchers, you've always got to get out and block it like a hockey goalie. A big right-hander. Kicks and throws the 2-2 and is chopped foul. Off to the left, out of play, count remains. Two. And Clark kicks and there's a shot. That one may not be coming back. Oh, and it's off the wall. And a throw to second, and sliding in head first is Jones. I don't know if Schmidt might have lost that ball. He was turned around on it. I couldn't tell from my vantage point, did it go high off the wall? Did it bounce in front of the wall? But I think Schmidt lost sight of it. So that'll be a double for Jones at an inopportune time for the Bears.
And that play at second was a lot closer than it should have been. I think Jones thought that he hit it out.
Well, he hit it hard, and so it gave, Schmidt a chance to gobble it up and throw it into second. But I agree with what you're saying, Steve. I thought for a minute, it was gone when he hit it, but he put some top spin on it, and it didn't quite clear the fence. So he's now out at second in scoring position for Moran, who takes a slider from Cole Clark for strike 1. Bears able to claw back and make it a 1-run game, but Cardinal threatening here to add to that 1-run lead with Jones out at second and only 1 out. Moran, the Cardinal third baseman. Ball in the dirt again, blocked by Prather. Now the Bears do have an open base here for Moran. So Clark doesn't have to get into him. Of course, Prather blocking that last pitch. He has to continue doing that. The ball can't get by him. Clark winds and throws. Swung and missed on a fastball that tied up Moran. That ball tailed in on him. It was right on his fist. So 1-2 now to the big Cardinal third baseman. Has walked twice and struck out twice. Big shift to the left side for him. And a ball away, evens the count 2-2. Now, you brought up an interesting question earlier. You have a shift on, 3 infielders on the left. Why would you throw a slider away? And I totally agree with that. If you're going to pitch into the shift.
Yeah. That pitch was so far outside he wasn't going to swing. But if it wasn't that far out, he can just poke that ball into right field.
Swung and missed. Big strikeout for Cole Clark. That's the golden sombrero for Moran. Now with 2 outs, that'll bring up Nadai. Nadai, of course. Oh, do we have a pinch hitter for Nadai, number 27. Brady Reynolds will now step in and hit for Nadai. Left-handed hitter.
Nadai leaves the game on a high note for him. He cut down the possible tying run at the plate with a great throw from left field, and that's the end of his night.
And the 0-1 pitch off the plate, 1-0. You know, Steve, this is the part of baseball I love the most because this is really mano a mano. This is the hitter who can drive in a run. It's a pitcher who can get out of the inning. This is what I love about this game.
Yep.
1-0 now to Reynolds. Swung and missed on a breaking ball in the dirt. Blocked by Prather. Evens the count to the pinch hitter. You're right. Nadai left on a high note. He threw out the tying run at the plate, threw out Schmidt last inning when the Bears had a chance to even up this ball game. Big shift again to the left. 3 infielders on the, check that, right side. And a changeup down low. Count 2-1. Again, first base is open. So Clark doesn't have to give in to Brady Reynolds. Big hole on the left side for Reynolds if he can punch one that direction. And a pitch was outside. I'm not sure that's where Clark wanted that to go. He got away with it as Reynolds fouled it off.
It did look like Reynolds was trying to hit that ball on the left side.
He had a nice approach to that swing, for sure. 7-6 Cardinal here in the top of the 8th, 2 down. Runner out at second. Cole Clark from the stretch. And his pitch to Reynolds. Swung and missed. Strike 3. Cole Clark strikes out Reynolds to end the inning. The threat is over. Bears coming up trailing in the bottom of the 8th by 1 run here on the ACC Extra Sports Network. Brock Kettleson will now take over in left field for the Cardinal. He replaces Nadai, who had been pinched hit for. Bears down by 1 as Earhart will now step in, followed by Kodama and Snyder. Trevor Moore out for his second inning of work here in the bottom of the 8th. 7 runs, 6 hits, 3 errors for the Cardinal. 6 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors for the Bears. We've got a barn burner here, Steve.
Didn't look like that for 6 plus innings, but the barn is on fire right now.
Ball 1 to Earhart, the young freshman. He has taken over for Jacob French. He's the second baseman. French, of course, was injured. And that one just a bit high. 2-0. Now, Steve, we've talked about, strategies at the plate.
Yeah.
Take a pitch here.
I definitely would think Mr. Earhart's going to watch one on the 2-0 pitch.
And fastball poured in. Okay, now you've seen it.
Yep.
Every pitch you see from a pitcher, you can gauge him just a little bit more. And this is Trevor Moore. Fly ball to right, and it's going to be gathered up there by Brock Sell for out number 1. We were talking about rivalry town, Stanford, and the great players. Trivia question for you.
Okay.
And you'll know this one. One player from each school played baseball, was a good baseball player, very good, but they were selected in the NFL draft number 1 pick in the nation. Who are the 2?
John Elway, I think, is the man who fits that bill for Stanford.
There's no doubt about that.
And Steve Bartkowski.
You got it, brother. One of my teammates here at Cal. So how about that?
They had some talent.
Kodama takes a breaking ball for a strike. You know, it is something to point out. There has been great talent at these two universities, you know, bar none. And another breaking ball by Kodama.
I saw John Elway playing right field here in either 1980 or 81. And a Cal player hit a ball to the warning track. And thankfully the right field, the Cal runner at third base knew that John Elway had an arm. Because normally you're trotting home on that. It's not even a throw. Elway made one of the greatest throws I've ever seen. But the Cal runner was smart enough to go all out and barely was safe at the plate.
0-2 here to Ethan Kodama. Breaking ball just off the plate. 1-2 now. Well, no doubt number 7 had an arm, but I'll tell you, so did Bartkowski.
I've heard he hit one of the longest home runs ever hit at what was then just Evans Diamond.
1-2 now to Ethan Kodama, who swings and misses on a slider that tied him up. That's the second out here in the 8th, as Gannon Snyder will now make his way to the plate. The former Shocker from Wichita State, who I mentioned earlier, hit his first Golden Bear home run last week in the big win against Virginia, will step in here. Tonight he has struck out, popped the first, and walked. Hideki Prather would be next. Trevor Moore checks with Lavin and throws the first pitch, and Snyder swings through it. 0-1.
Trevor Moore is Stanford's 4th pitcher, and as we said, David Esker has gone to the pitching by committee. Cal has used 6 pitchers. You'd be surprised going in that Cal would use 2 more than Stanford.
Ball hit to right field in the corner, and that will be just foul. Broxell ran over, went into a slide to try to catch it just on the right side of that line down the right field side. So Snyder hangs in there with 2 strikes. He'll walk back to the plate. Nice hustle there by Broxell, Cardinal right fielder. 0-2. 2 down here, bottom of the 8th. Cardinal leading the Bears by a score of 7-6. It's turned into quite a ball game. Now the big right-hander throws. Ball in the dirt. Did he go? No, says first base umpire Dylan Bradley.
And that was close. That could have gone either way.
Tough pitch to lay off, though. A sharp breaking slider. You know, with 2 strikes, you've got to protect the plate. Off the plate again, 2-2.
Moore came in last inning, 2 outs and the bases loaded, gave up double, single. Now he's gone fly out, strikeout, and 2-2 count on Snyder.
And a swing and a miss on a fastball. Whoop, foul check, foul tip. I thought that Lavin had held on to it. You could hear the Stanford fans clapping in anticipation. They didn't get the call, so Snyder will step back in with a 2-2. Check that, full count.
I think it might be 2-2, and I think that's...
I thought it was 2-2, but the scoreboard says 3, but we're going to go 2-2. Shot too short, 1 hopper. Bates has it, guns over to Sasaki, who stretches. The out is recorded. The Bears go 1-2-3 in the 8th. We go to the 9th. Cardinal leading the Bears 7-6 here on the ACC Extra Network. Cole Clark warming up here in the top of the 9th. His job is to keep this a 1-run game. And Steve, you pointed out something between innings that I thought was very poignant.
Well, I appreciate that, Jim. But you think on a night where there was a moment of silence before the game for two of the great college baseball coaches, not only on the West Coast, but in the history of college baseball. Bob Milano of Cal, Mark Marquis of Stanford. It hasn't been the prettiest game of all time, but to have a Cal-Stanford game on the night those two men were being remembered, 1 run in the ninth, I think it's appropriate.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. Lavin steps in. First pitch is up for ball 1 from Cole Clark. Lavin tonight popped up twice and singled. And the 1-0 to him is a fastball. Runs inside for ball 2. Bears playing Lavin straight away. And Clark throws now. He shows bunt. Pulls it back. There's a slider in for a strike.
I think that, sorry, Jim. I think that was I'm just showing bunt because maybe that will cause Clark to throw a ball, but he threw it right down the middle.
And the 2-1 popped up. Jet Kennedy's got a beat on it. He's calling everybody else off. That ball was way up there, but it's out number 1. And Brock Sell will step in here for the Cardinal. Sell tonight grounded to second. Grounded to first to Murillo unassisted and has walked. And Clark looks in now. His first pitch to Sell. Fastball for a strike. Well, what you said was so true. I mean, you know, the rivalry between these two schools, it is fierce. They want to beat each other, but it's very respectful. They respect both institutions, and both Mark and Bob had a terrific relationship. And then, you know, what's interesting, Steve, you worked with both of them, you know, working for the Chronicle and for KPIX. Two totally different individuals.
Right. You would know this better, Jim, because I knew Bob very well. I didn't know Mark okay, but I would not say I knew him really well. But I think it's fair to say that
strike 3 as Sell swings through a slider. So 2 down here in the top of the 9th.
I don't know that he and Bob were great friends, but there was great respect for what each had done. I think there's no question Bob Milano had tons of respect for Mark Marquis, and that Mark Marquis had tons of respect for Bob Milano.
Yeah, they didn't go to dinner together, I don't think, very often. But, well, like I said earlier, Mark, there's a fastball for a strike to Bates leading off. Or check that here with 2 down. But, you know, when Mark, like I said earlier, was the Olympic coach, who did he have on his staff? By the way, Bob Milano. You know who else was on that staff? Well, it's a coach's who in those days. Pop foul out of play, 0-2 now to Bates. Skip Bertman
from LSU.
Ron Polk from Mississippi State. And those were guys back in the day, folks, that were the premier college coaches of that era.
Skip.
So,
yeah,
adding Milano to that staff showed a lot of respect for him from Mark Marquis. Blocked by Prater there. Ball rolls over to the Cardinal dugout. Thrown back in, and that was Teddy Tokheim who threw it back in. 1 ball, 2 strikes here to Bates. And a grounder for a base hit. Nice job of hitting by Bates. He just stayed with it. Didn't try to overpower it. And that brings up Tokheim, who is a dangerous hitter here with 2 down.
Now, again, Stanford not a running team by any means, but has run tonight. And you would think up by 1, 2 outs in the 9th, that Bates very well might be put in motion here with Tokheim. If Bates gets a second, Tokheim gets a single, Stanford goes from a 1-run lead to a 2-run lead.
Well, we say that Stanford is not a running team, and that is true. They're the only team in the league, the ACC, that has less stolen bases than Cal does. But, here's the other side of the story. Bates is 10 for 14 on stolen bases on the year. So he definitely is a threat to go. Slider for strike 2. And only showing strike 1 on the board. There we go. Our scoreboard operator is a little slow tonight.
It happens.
It happens. 0-2 to Tokine. Again, a very dangerous hitter here, 2 down. Bates, the runner, over at first. Oh, you can hear the groans from the Cal fans. Fastball.
I think I could hear some groans from the Cal dugout, too. And perhaps even the Cal press box.
Yes. It was one of those, oh. Popped up. And will there be a play? Prather comes back. And I think it bounced off the screen and then hit his glove. Tough play for Prather. Runner was going.
The old saying, there's no cheering in the press box, but I don't know that there's no groaning in the press box. So I guess you can groan in the press box.
You know, that's the kind of pitch where it's like missing a 3-foot putt. Oh.
Yes.
I do that a lot, by the way.
Yes, I can sympathize and empathize there.
Runner goes swinging and a miss. Strike 3. Tokine goes down. Clark shuts him down in the ninth. Bears coming up, bottom of the ninth, trailing by 1. Here we go, bottom of the ninth. Bears trailing by 1. And I'll tell you, Steve, if you had told me in the end of the first inning that the Bears, in fact, with no outs in the first inning, that the Bears would only be trailing by 1 in the ninth, I would have said you're crazy.
Well, I am crazy, but yeah, and put it this way, even with 2 outs in the 7th, the Bears were down by 5.
And they've got the top of the order as Hideki Prather steps in to square off with Trevor Moore. Bears need a run to keep this game going, need 2 to win it.
The Bears' last 2 games in Virginia were 1-run games. They lost 2-1. They won 8-7. Here's another one right now.
And Prather, who has been Cal's leading power hitter this year, singled in the first and has taken the golden sombrero the last 3 times at the plate, swinging through on each one of his strikeouts. So the Bears need him to make contact here. Fouls that one off, out of play. 0-2 to the Golden Bear catcher from Campolindo.
And Stanford's last game also was a 1-run game. Stanford was up 7-3, I believe, against St. Mary's on Tuesday night. St. Mary's scored 3 in the 9th. Stanford held off St. Mary's 7-6.
Line shot. There's a base hit by Prather to lead off the bottom of the 9th. So Hideki does the job. He gets on first to lead off the inning, and that will bring up Jet Kennedy. So the Bears are not going quietly, Steve.
Yeah, Jim, here in the old days, if you had your second place hitter up in a 1-run game in the bottom of the 9th, he'd be bunting. But I don't think Jet Kennedy is bunting in this situation.
I would doubt, but you never know because you got Daniel Murillo up next, and Murillo's been swinging a hot bat.
Yeah, but Jet Kennedy's a guy who, with one swing, Cal could be going from down 1 run to going home a 1-run winner. So I would be surprised to see him lay one down here.
Oh, absolutely. Kennedy's got 11 home runs on the season, so I totally agree with what you're saying. Now Moore from the stretch throws to Kennedy, and there's a ball in the dirt. 1-0 to the Golden Bear freshman shortstop, who has had a monster season for a freshman. I'm sure he will get votes for making the all-freshman All-American team. And he chops that one foul off to the left. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jet Kennedy. That's Hideki Prather over at first. Nobody out. Bears trailing 7-6. Fans have certainly got their money's worth tonight. Now time is called for some reason as Trevor Moore comes off. Are we getting another, jeez, another, how many times have we seen this tonight, Steve, where the, I don't know, what do you call it, the intercom system or communication system doesn't work.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
What'd you say?
I don't know. I have to tell you, I loved it when the catcher put the fingers down. I also loved it when the catchers called the game, too.
Another relic.
Yes.
Kettleson playing very deep in left field. In center field, McDonald playing pretty much a normal depth.
Up, foul off the right side. Sasaki chasing it and puts it away. So nice catch by Sasaki. He had to twist and turn on that one. He had to become a wide receiver. And I doubt, coming from Japan, that he ever played much football.
That was not an easy play.
So Kennedy pops up to Sasaki. And Daniel Murillo will now step in. Murillo, also one of the top Cal power hitters, has 10 on the season. One of those guys who could send everybody home happy right here. Cade Campbell, another power threat, would be next. Now the Cardinal totally shifted over to the left. Moran, the third baseman, hugging the line. The shortstop, Bates, over in the hole. Second baseman, Jong, over on the left side of second base. Sasaki covering the runner. Huge hole on the right side. Oh, pitch very close. But that's the kind of pitch right there that he can go the other way with. And Murillo has done that. He has shown he has real fine bat control. So a ground ball to the right side is going to put the tying run at second base for sure. Ball in the dirt. Blocked nicely by Lavin. Of course, I was talking about Prather blocking pitches, having to be a goalie. Well, Lavin has to do the same thing here. But the count 3-0. So here's the question.
Yeah.
Power hitter, do you give him the green light? I say no.
I say no as well at this point. I'm definitely giving the green light if it goes at 3-1.
Ball 4 down low. So tying run moves 60 feet up to second base. Murillo, potential go-ahead or winning run. Now there'll be a conference on the mound. I think Moore is your closer, so I'm not sure what they're going to be saying here other than to settle him down. I don't see any action, Steve, in the Cardinal bullpen. I'm guessing they're staying with Moore all the way here.
You would think. I mean, a guy who's got the numbers that he has, the faith that David Esker has had in him, to bring him in. I mean, again, that was, in a sense, the save situation with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the 7th in a 5-run game. But now it's the more traditional save situation that you can't create your own save. First and second, 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. Now, Cade Campbell, and they're having a meeting just to the right of home plate, an offensive huddle, as the Cardinal is having the defensive huddle, so to speak, on the mound. What do you think they're discussing with Cade Campbell and the runners who are at first and second?
It's interesting because they're not bringing in a new pitcher. So you say to yourself, well, what are they talking about? I think more than anything, well, they may be talking a little defensive strategy in terms of where do we want to play now? Do we play back, And as far as the offense goes, I think they're just telling Campbell, giving him some, attaboys. Hey, make sure you see your pitch. He just walked the guy. Make him throw you a strike. I would definitely say make him throw a strike here.
Yep.
Big shift again, though. Look at the right side is open for Cade, but he is normally a pull hitter. Fastball, low and in. Lavin hustles to get that. Nice play by the Cardinal catcher, keeping that in front of him. So this one's coming down right to the end, Steve.
It's Stanford and Cal. Who would have thought anything else?
Fastball up and in. 2-0. Definitely take again. You want to move the runners up. You got to get that runner over to third. That's your tying run with less than 2 outs.
Right, with 1 out though, and your cleanup hitter, I might let Mr. Campbell swing here. Let's see.
Well, he had a hack, just couldn't catch up. That ball ran in on his fist. 2-1 now to Cade. Tonight, Cade has grounded to third, singled, walked, and hit a double. It was his double off of Moore that drove in 3 runs back in the 7th. Fouled off again. Cade had a good pitch to hit there. He just missed it. So 2-2.
And he had a really good cut. I mean, right now, that bases loaded triple, bases clearing triple, I said triple, double, is the at-bat that got the Bears back in the game.
2-2. Moore looking into 11. Here comes the pitch. Slider just off the plate. The Stanford bench is screaming at home plate umpire Jeff Francis. Full count.
And I don't think the runners are going here, Jim.
Not here. Not in this situation. But they've got to get good leads. They're going to have to be off and running. Chopper! Oh, soft liner. I thought it hit the ground first, but it was a soft liner off the fist that went right to Bates. Had it been up the middle, it would have gone through. But the Bears are now down to their last out as Carl Schmidt steps in.
And give Hideki Prather a tip of the cap there. That easily he could have taken off thinking that ball was going in the left center field. He was smart to get back to the bag, and the Bears do not get into an game-ending double play.
Absolutely. All right, Schmitz now steps in. Schmidt doubled his last at-bat against Moore. Carl swings at a pitch away. That's the one he's got to go the other way with. He's trying to pull that pitch, Steve. He's got the whole right side open. This is where he's got to have back control. Oh, 0-1 to Schmidt. Ball in the dirt, nicely blocked by Lavin.
Yeah, Lavin doesn't make that play. The tying run moves to third, and the winning run moves to second.
Prather, your runner at second. He's the tying run. Murillo, the potential game-winning run over at first. 1-1 count to Carl Schmidt. Ball in the dirt again. They're trying to make sure that Schmidt is seeing balls away. They don't want to give him anything in, because that's where his power is. Carl does have 9 home runs on the year, but as we mentioned earlier, a stat that we still find hard to believe going into this game, 9 home runs and only 14 RBIs.
Well, he got a 15th 2 innings ago.
Yes, he did.
Bears would like to see him get a 16th, 17th, and maybe even an 18th right here.
Outside pitch again. That would have been ball 3. All right. Bears down to their last strike. Trevor Moore deals. Chopper. Schmidt stays alive. Chopper off to the left. Count remains 2-2 to the Golden Bear left fielder. Tonight he has struck out, singled, struck out, and doubled. Trevor Moore looking at Lavin. Now pitches. There's a shot to left field. That's a base hit. Right around third. It's Prather. The throw to the plate. And they got him. And that's the ball game. 2 outstanding throws by the Cardinal left fielders have thwarted the Bears tonight. And that is how this game ends. Steve, I'm speechless. What a finish.
You don't see many 7-2 outs end an inning. You don't see many 7-2 outs end a game. You give it up for Brock Kettleson in left field 2 innings after Jimmy Nadai in left field had thwarted the Bears. It's a tough way, a very tough way for this series to begin for the California Golden Bears. a very satisfying way for this series to begin for the Stanford Cardinal.
Well, like you stated before the game, when these two teams play, you're going to see now the Bears may be challenging this. The players are still out on the field. They have gone out to celebrate, but the umpires cleared the field, and they are checking this.
The Bears have nothing to lose.
Well, they have nothing to lose. I can't believe that this would be overturned because Prather was dead to rights. The only thing perhaps was a ball juggled. I don't know. We can't tell from here. But I'm pretty sure this is not going to be overturned, and it's going to be a 7-6 win for the Cardinal. But we have to wait and see. But to capitalize on what we were talking about before, when these two teams play, it's always fun. And they're two evenly matched teams, as we said about their records going into the game. Now here comes our crew chief to let us know Cardinals are jumping up and down, and that is the ball game, I guess. Yes, it is. Okay, he just gave us the signal. The Cardinal jumping up and down, patting the back of Kettleson for that terrific throw. And Steve, what else can you say? I mean, you had to send it. There's no way you wouldn't send Prather in that situation.
Right, and Kettleson, he'd been in the game for only 2 innings. Give the young man credit. He made a perfect throw, just as Jimmy Nada had done so 2 innings earlier. And California made an excellent comeback, but Stanford was just 2 arms better than the Bears tonight.
Well, the Bears were down, folks, if you weren't with us in the first inning, they were down 4-0 before they even got an out. So the fact they came back and made it a 7-6 game says a lot. So that'll do it for tonight. I'd like to thank Daniel Mobus Bowles, our athletic communications, Kyle McCrae, broadcast coordinator, Alex Wheat, assistant AD for broadcast, Dave Pullman, our cameraman. Attendance tonight, 733. I want to thank Steve Kroner for joining me here in the booth. Steve, it's been a thrill working with you.
Jim, very much a pleasure for me, believe me.
Well, that'll do it for tonight here at Evans Diamond at Stu Gordon Stadium, where the Cardinal take the first game of this 3-game series. Tomorrow night's game will be at 6:05, and the final will be Saturday at 1:05. I'm Jim Darby saying good night from Berkeley.